Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
And that puts Nicklaus 3 strokes behind with just the 18th to play. 68 for Trevino. He's beaten Nicklaus by 3.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Play fake into the corner on the fade. Intercepted by Kalen Barnes. Down the sidelines. He's going to step out. Huge play to close this half. Oklahoma State would have had points.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
12.
What a good play by Everson Wall. He took the ball, caught it, came back out to the 40-yard line. Tackled by Dickerson. Walls had intercepted 9 this year. And he gets one here.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go on this Monday. Week number?
I'm losing track of this. You keep asking me. 26, the episode, though.
Week 6, episode 26. Paul Catalina is here in studio with Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke. Deontay, who had a birthday. Deontay Epps had a birthday on Saturday. He joins us today in the studio.
Belated birthday.
Guys, thank you so much. It means a lot. Last year in my 20s, so here we go.
Whoa, okay. All right. Yeah. You are headed to another decade, and we have a loaded-up lineup today. Lee Trevino, the great golfer, will join us, and he's so humorous at 3:15. Baylor defensive backs coach Brian Stewart at 4. Everson Walls, Cowboys and Giants at 5. John Jansen, he's an All-American offensive lineman at Michigan, played 10 years in the NFL. Reason we have him on today at 5:30, he spoke with Jim Harbaugh. And on Friday with part of his podcast. He works for ESPNU and also has another podcast, In the Trenches. He'll join us at 5:30 on Harbaugh's ideas about college football and athletes. And then one of the newest commits at Baylor, offensive lineman from Wall, Texas, Tate Williams, today will join us at 4:30. So they get Tate Williams, big strapping offensive lineman out of West Texas. And Craig also, they get Roderick Daniels, a very athletic, as you could imagine, wide receiver and talent out of Duncanville.
Yeah, a couple of commits this weekend for Baylor, and they just keep rolling. They've had a lot of success here over the last 5 to 6 weeks. Just seems like each week we're seeing 1 or 2 new commits that are popping up, and even a few days ago, a 2022 commit to get that class started. But 2021 has gone from single digits to double digits very quickly. And those two over the last few days providing some more depth on the O-line. So they've got 2 of those guys now. And we know from talking to Grayson that they might load up on wide receivers. So Roderick Daniels definitely fits that bill. Now, what's interesting about him is he's not the big outside type of guy. He is a slot guy, but very fast. And if you watched Duncanville at all last year, then you know that Baylor's got a big-time playmaker.
No question. He's from a team that's played in back-to-back state championships, lost both games, tight games, won a heartbreaker 2 years ago to North Shore. Also, Paul, the Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat app.
We're awaiting this big update, so...
But it's working for a lot of people.
It's working for a lot of people, but if you have a problem listening in the background, that is in
Android
space right
users.
now.
Android users are fine. Mm-hmm. Many who use the iPhone are fine, but it's still an iOS issue, right?
Yes. Hopefully any minute now, so we're just waiting.
Colt Barber keeps teasing me with these updates. I've even seen a copy of a text, but we're getting closer. The Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat app is up and running, but still there's, with technology, there are updates still to go. Oh, baseball owners today, or at least recently, approved a proposal to present players for the 2020 season, 4th of July weekend, expanding the DH to both the National League as well for the year. Spring training would start sometime in mid-June. That's a month from now. Each team would play 82 regular season games, most against opponents in their own division. postseason would be expanded from 10 to 14 teams, doubling the wild cards in each league.
It's pretty interesting. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see what they would do. And I guess at their home stadiums, I kind of wanted that Arizona Fall League one and then the Grapefruit League, the other, or the Arizona League and the Grapefruit League plan. I like that idea.
Cactus League,
the Cactus League and the Grapefruit League. I like those plans, but I'll take anything to get baseball. I want to see it.
I think I'd probably watch some games that otherwise are just part of the 162-game schedule on ESPN or Major League Baseball Network or whatever.
Yeah, they still have to get the Players Association to agree to this proposal. This is just the owners who have agreed to this so far, but you have to get one step out of the way to get to the next step. So one big step is out of the way as the owners have okayed this proposal, and we would get a baseball season this year starting around July 4th weekend. Yes, no fans in attendance is going to be the way that it goes, but you get half of your typical, or basically half of your typical regular season just by one extra game with the 82 expanded playoffs, as you mentioned. So they've obviously put a lot of thought into this, and if everything can kind of go well over the next month or so, then maybe we do have baseball back, and that would be a huge deal, even if it is a situation where there are no fans. I think that's just something that we need to probably come to grips with and reality with. And then if we do end up having fans, that's a nice surprise. But it does seem like every return plan for every league, from MLB to Premier League to anything else you want to mention, UFC over the weekend, it will be no fans for the foreseeable future.
Division II Florida Tech announced it's eliminating the football program because of the financial impact of COVID-19. Unfortunately, the first football casualty of the coronavirus pandemic. They won't be the last, but they are the first. Florida Tech President Dwayne McKay said that, as I've continued to share with you, these are difficult times. Indeed, all the higher education struggling to deal with the realities of COVID and the uncertainty that accompanies a global disruption to daily life. Some universities will no doubt close. Florida Tech, however, has plans to persevere. However, they will not have a football program. They first started back in 2013. In fact, made the playoffs a couple of different times. So that's the first program that I can think of. Football team, college football team, to at least. That doesn't mean they can't come back, but usually, like, remember UAB canceled their program and then came back.
That's a D2 school.
Also, Gavin Holmes, remember him? So we hear about the wide receivers. So this is something that I learned over the weekend. He's had 2 years in which he's missed games. He's a very talented young man, but he's had a couple of surgeries. He had one, they had to do it again. He has been working out with, is it David Robinson? D-Rob, who works out with Antonio Brown, Des Bryant, some characters, but also others. And he is also working out with a private trainer and has been this for about a month and a half with a guy that is a speed coach for Usain Bolt.
Wow.
He's put on more weight. He's got his speed. He was cleared. By the way, he was cleared. A lot of people forget about him. He was cleared several weeks ago to go 100% during workouts. You got to be careful, but that's what happened.
Here's what I can say about the speed coach for Usain Bolt. Unequivocally, the most successful speed coach of all time.
Yeah, you'd have to be right up there, no doubt about that. And Gavin Holmes was somebody who a couple of years ago, definitely flashed in a couple of games towards the end of the year, and was a guy who found a way to get open. He made the catch when it was thrown to him, and he showed a little bit of a burst and an ability with the ball in his hands. So he would be a huge, huge guy to have, back in the lineup and back ready to play this year. There's always going to, I think, be a little bit of cause for concern or a little bit of worry about, re-injury and things like that given his history. But if he can just somehow maintain his health, I mean, he's capable of being a very dynamic wide receiver for this team. And you know what? They need some guys to step up now that they've lost Denzel Mims. And, Jared Atkinson, it's kind of do or die now. He's got 1 year left, and it hasn't, planned out really the way that we thought it would. You've got your Gavin Holmeses, your Jackson Gleasons, your younger guys, your Jalen Ellises, some of them coming off injury, some of them just haven't played that much, but very unproven at this point, even though Holmes showed a little bit. That was 2 years ago. So, yeah, outside of Tyquan Thornton and R.J. Sneed, and maybe I'm missing a name or two, but Josh Fleeks, obviously. You can use some more guys to step up, so Gavin Holmes will be a very nice addition.
Here's an interesting matchup, and we got to take a break here in a minute. Lee Trevino, the great Lee Trevino, will join us in 5 minutes. Baylor defensive backs coach Brian Stewart at 4. Tate Williams at 4:30. Zach Evans from North Shore. This is an incredibly talented 5-star running back who has basically been through recruitment with Alabama, Florida, Georgia, LSU, Texas, many others. A&M, I would think, was probably nibbling on him.
Were those all the schools he was committed to at one point
I don't
or
know,
another?
yeah. But he's got some he's had some issues now. But I don't know if he's done anything criminal. Remember, he was sent home from the state championship weekend. He's an incredible. They won it without him. That had to hurt. But he's enrolled at TCU.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good thing for him or a bad thing. I mean, of course, I'm glad he's in school. He had some issues, and you want to get as many kids an opportunity as you can. But, when you miss the state championship game, whatever you did really ticked off your coaches because it meant you let your team down because you're not going to suspend your best player before the state championship game for just no reason or to set some sort of, idealistic example. But he must have done something that really ticked him off. So I don't know. And I hope Gary Patterson and the Horned Frogs can figure out a way to get the most out of him.
Well, he's obviously got some things that maybe he's just immature.
He's very immature. I mean, he got sent home from the state championship game because he wouldn't turn in his cell phone, even though everybody else on his team turned in their cell phones. The night before the state championship game, he refused. Even when coaches demanded he turn over his cell phone, and they finally just said, you don't want to turn in your cell phone like everybody else on the team. You're not playing in the state title game. So, yeah, there's some immaturity issues there to be sure. Now, maybe he's learned from that because that was a few months ago, but he has been committed to multiple schools. He's now signed to multiple schools, and TCU's eventually where he ends up, even though they were talked about during his recruitment, but they were never, ever once looked at as like a favorite or anything along those lines. That was mostly A&M, LSU, Georgia. But, he's a very good player, and if Gary Patterson can instill that discipline in him, then TCU's got a heck of a player to add to their football team. They always have good backs, and he's no different. But, yeah, you do have some concern about whether or not the maturity is there yet.
He signed with Georgia, and then he was released from that commitment, and he could be a stud or he could end up being a nightmare. It all depends, and Gary Patterson feels good enough about it. He's on campus. When we come back, Lee Trevino will also have a segment about The Last Dance, episodes 7 and 8, much more. But Lee Trevino, next on SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Man, it's great to talk about Ted Teague and his dealership. Continuing with their drive forward, they're open for business. Spring, summer on the way. Of course, summer is closing in, although it's so cool and it's so beautiful outside. Time to get up off the couch. 0% is back for May. 0% for 72 months. No payments for up to 120 days. If you're looking for a car, a truck, a Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, SUV, this is where you go. And if you've been waiting for a fantastic deal on heavy-duty trucks, new Ram Heavy Duties now feature employee pricing for all. Incredible deals on new heavy-duty Rams, the 2020 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. You can also shop in person inside the dealership. It's safe, clean environment, sanitized for safety. The staff 100% on board to give you the safest experience. And, of course, they always make you feel welcome. You can also buy completely online if you'd like, and they'll deliver to your home or office. It's totally turnkey if that's what you want. Free pickup and delivery for all repairs and service. Vehicles returned, sanitized, and safe. So don't miss 0% for 72 months. No payments for up to 120 days. Alan Samuels, DCJ.com. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Live crawfish is back. The 30-pound bags of live crawfish, as delicious as you can imagine, back at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. $3 a pound, 30-pound live crawfish bags are available. You order by Thursday at noon. You can pick up your customized order anytime on Friday afternoon until 6 p.m. And the drive-thru now open at Waco Custom Marketplace Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can still order what you want from their butcher shop, including beef and poultry, seafood, and also pork. And, of course, their bakery. You can order from their bakery. You can go online, WacoCustomMarketplace.com, or go by the drive-thru. Waco Custom Marketplace, live crawfish available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
And that puts Nicklaus 3 strokes behind with just the 18th to play. 68 for Trevino. He's beaten Nicklaus by 3.
The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
You know, we've had some unbelievable names on this show as we start week 6 on SicEm365 Radio. Hall of Famers at every level, from baseball to the NFL to college football to Heisman Trophy winners to whatever high school football. But this is one that I am thrilled to introduce. 6-time major champion Lee Trevino joins us on SicEm365 Radio with Paul Craig. I'm David. And this, of course, starts week number 6 of the show. Lee, really, seriously, I'm actually I'm 61 years old. I've met you before in Lufkin at a Crown County country club, and Tyler with some pro-ams there and also elsewhere. It's great to have you on the show. How are you doing, sir?
How are you, David? Nah, man, it's as a matter of fact, I'm doing great. I've been locked up here for about 66 days in my house because I'm 80 years old and I'm I'm on that bubble. I'm in pretty good shape, though. I think I could fight this damn stuff off, but I don't want to. I don't want to leave. I got the best cook in America, and and you know what? And I think she looks at me that I'm still producing a little income here and there. So she's trying to keep me upright, but she's doing a hell of a job. It's great. I haven't done much. I did hit balls for 2 hours today. I'm getting sick and tired of Swaggart and Wendy Williams. I mean, and there's nothing on television that I want to see. I'm certainly glad that you called, man. And when you told me Waco, what did I say to you? Rudy's, baby.
Yeah,
I stop every time.
That's one of our sponsors.
Every time I go every time that I take a trip and go down on business or whatever to Austin, I make sure I leave home at 10:30. I get there at lunchtime. And then when I leave Austin, I make sure I leave at 10:30 and I get there at lunchtime.
We love it.
Yes, sir.
You said 66 days as a golfer. You want it to be in the 60s, right? Every time you play, if you can. That's a good thing.
Except, back in the old days, before you got these young people that are 9 foot tall and strong as hell and the golf ball goes 400 miles and they got graphite shafts and all that stuff. Back in the old days, you shoot far. You remember on a U.S. Open golf course, and generally you won the dang thing. Same thing happened at Colonial. I remember when even par won Colonial sometimes because of the Bermuda grass being so high. But it's changed, like everything else. The game has changed tremendously. They're very strong. They've all the high tech stuff with the TrackMan and all the instructors with muscles and nerves and stuff and sports psychologists and whatever. I mean, the game has gotten to where they keep wanting to turn it back. They're saying, "Oh, the golf ball is too hot." No, it's not. It's just the players are just much better now. They're much stronger. Yeah.
Lee, you've won 6 majors. Is there a difference in feeling in the first one or the last one, or do they all kind of feel the same because it is so hard to do?
Well, it's very difficult to do. Actually, the first one is actually easier than anything because all of a sudden you find yourself in the battle and at the moment, and you say, well, you play like any other golf tournament because you've never experienced that. And then once you win it once, then the second time is the one. I mean, I remember when they used to say that you can win a major once, but it's very difficult to win 2. But after 2, then it's a little easier to win 3. You know what I'm saying? And the more majors that you win, you kind of get used to it. But it all depends on who's on top of you. Also, I mean, I had the pleasure of winning 6, and Nicklaus finished second in 4 of them. But I didn't. That's just the way that I played. I played my own game. I didn't play anybody individually. I played the golf course. I knew that if I shot certain scores, I had a good chance of winning. But I had that type of game. I had a game that was extremely straight with the driver. My irons wasn't high, but you played old courses where they're open in the front. And I was an average putter, but I was a heck of a bunker player. And the best part of my game, Paul, was the wedge. And that's the one that you want to be able to use extremely well. Everybody says that the best putter and the most important club in your bag is the putter. And it is somewhat because half of the shots are hit with a putter. But the wedge is very important because any of your listeners play golf, how many greens do they miss?
Oh, yeah.
They can roll the ball 200 yards, 250 yards. They can roll it another 180 yards. But then the guy that has a good wedge, in other words, the guy that has a good wedge is the guy that prevails because he gets the ball up and down. You keep your birdies, you see. When you have a good wedge game, you keep your birdies. You're going to make so many birdies. But then, you don't want to give them back. You always give them back with a short game. See, that's the thing.
And then they learn how to pitch. That's kind of opposite with you, right? You learn how to play the game. You move the ball around. I've seen you do clinics before. Unbelievable. Yeah. Instead of just bombing away, of course, if you could, maybe you would. But isn't that what your game was about?
Yeah, I was talking to Nicky Faldo last week, and he summed it up probably as best as ever because I have a 27-year-old boy that graduated in a business degree out of USC, and he kind of manages me now, and he's starting his own. I've had my logo, with the sombrero with the club in it and the whole thing. I've had that thing copyrighted since 1968, and I've never done anything with it. But he wants to do hats and T-shirts and head covers and what have you. And he's been working for probably all year trying to put all this stuff together. And he's just starting it out now. It's going to be on supermexgolf.com and the Instagram. And we're starting a whole business. But he's trying to play a little bit of the small game in the small tournaments and what have you. But the thing about it is Nicky Faldo said to me, and as I told my son, when he comes home, I says, how many shots did you hit today? He said, I hit 2 buckets of those big buckets of balls today. I said, no. I didn't ask you how many balls you hit. I want to know how many shots you hit. And he says, what do you mean? I said, what do you think it does you good? I said, to stand on the tee and hit a 99, 153 and you hit 35 of them in a row? That ain't going to do you any good. Can you hit it 90 yards and turn it to the right and stop it on the green? Can you hit it 112 yards and hook it high to the left? Can you hit it low? And Nicky Faldo was great because Nicky Faldo says, listen, when I practiced, I took 4 golf balls with each club and I put them out there and I would hit a high hook with one, a low hook with another one, a straight one low, a straight one high, and then I'd get 4 more balls, and then I would go and hit a high fade, a low fade. He says, and then I'd hit a straight one again high and a straight one low. And he said, I went through my whole bag that way. The big thing today is that most of these golfers don't practice golf shots. They just hit balls. And you're not going to get very good doing that. You have to be a trick shot guy, and that's what I was. I could play as well with 7 golf clubs as I could with 14. I didn't need 14 clubs because I could improvise. I could. I beat some guys at the Greenbrier at $80 that were playing the par 3, 130 yards, and the guy said closest to the hole for $20. I said, I'm in. He said, no, you're not in. I said, if I hit a driver. He says, you're in. And I hit a high cut, 135 yards, 15 feet, and I won $80. I hit a little high cut in there about 15 feet. I won $30.
That's great.
$80. Yeah.
I don't know if that's real smart betting against you in golf, Lee. I mean, you have to be a pretty good golfer or pretty confident or stupid to bet against a 6-time major winner.
It's the old deal if people want to see it. You understand what that's the whole thing. Titanic Thompson, you remember, was the greatest hustler in the world. Texas guy, passed away in Fort Worth at an old folks home. And when he died, he owned every wheelchair, crutch, cane. he owned everything in the old folks home, and he rented it back for 50 cents and $1 a week. He was a magician with cards. I saw him one time. He would go into a hotel room, and it'd be adjoining room, and you'll notice there's some space under the door. When you go into the bedroom in a hotel in a suite, and he could bet you that he could flip, and he could do this. He could flip 52 cards under the door and put 12 of them in a hat on the other side, and you would bet him. The problem is he'd have somebody in another room on the other side, and he would come into the room, put the 12 cards in the hat, and then get the hell out of there. And then when you open the door, in other words, there was 12 cards in the hat.
Yep.
Yeah, every time. Yeah, he was a great guy. But I never hustled anybody. If I hustled anybody, it was because I didn't tell them that I was a +5 or a +6 at Tennyson Park. When guys would walk up and wanted to play, they wouldn't tell you the truth about their handicap. If they were a 3 handicap, they'd tell you they were 7.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'd say, "What's your handicap?" And I said, I don't have one. I'm scratch. And they said, oh, okay. Well, I'm a 7. So you give them 7, but I didn't tell them that I was a +6.
Didn't you have the story, Lee, that you would go and play some of these members with Tennyson or wherever it was, and that you didn't have any money in your pocket?
We did that all the time, yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. We played, we played 6 days a week at Tennyson Park. And we played early in the morning. And we'd get games and stuff. And we never bet more than $5. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money. But we didn't have $5. I mean, we'd have $2 or $3 in our pocket. So you had to play really hard. But I went around Tennyson Park, I don't know, for some reason, no one ever saw me. And that's why no one ever knew where I came from. Where the hell did I learn to play like this? I practiced day and night. I didn't start playing golf till I was 19. And then I didn't pursue it until I was 23. I went to work on a construction crew building a 9-hole course, adding on to the Colombian Club, the Jewish club here in Dallas. And I worked there on the construction crew for a year. And then I started playing after I got out of the Marine Corps. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. And when I got out, I started practicing. And, the first tournament I ever entered was the Texas State Open, which was at down in Houston. And I went down there and ended up winning it. I actually won it in the playoff. And that was the first tournament I played. I never played an amateur tournament or a pro tournament. Yeah. And I said, but I practiced, and I had a lot of bad habits. I hit a cut. But I'll tell you one thing, I could put it on a 50-cent piece from any distance you wanted.
Yes, you could. Yes, you did. The great Lee Trevino, Hall of Famer, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Lee, how much, and it's been 20-plus years since the movie came out, but how much has your career or celebrity changed for a group of people who wouldn't have known who you were because you had a little cameo in Happy Gilmore?
Well, I never met those guys. Everybody says, how were they? How were they? I said, man, this is high-tech stuff. What are you talking about? I said, they shot that whole thing in about two days. And I said, what do you mean? I said, it's all on computer. I said, they do that there. He said, well, where did you do yours? I said, in the parking lot at the PGA in West Palm Beach.
Wow.
I said, what? I said, no, I'm serious. I said, the guy called me up, says, we need 4 cameos from you for a guy doing a show. He's a hockey player playing golf. I said, hell, he hit it like I did. That's what I did. I walked into it and hit it. I said, I always took the 3 steps. You remember the 3 little steps that I'd hit the ball?
Uh-huh.
And I said, what kind of cameos? He said, I'm throwing somebody out of a building, just look up, make a face. And he says, we're going to have a clown's head and stuff on the parking lot and shoot up. And it looks like you're on a miniature course. And he says, kind of make some faces. And I said, okay. And I said, well, how long is it going to take? He said, an hour. I said, well, where can we do it? He said, anywhere. I said, what about the parking lot at the PGA? I live in West Palm. I lived on the island there. He said, yeah. He said, what do you charge? I said, well, my daily fee's $50,000. He said, you got it. I went down there in an hour and came back home.
God, that's amazing.
And you know,
wow.
You know that this is crazy because I belong to SAG and I've belonged to the Screen Actors Guild for 48 years. And you know that I still get residuals.
Do you really? Wow.
Yeah. Every time they show it on TV, anywhere in the world or a movie or anything, I get checks all the time. Yeah, Happy Gilmore.
You played during a time, obviously, there was the stretch of Palmer to Nicklaus, Gary Player, Lee Trevino, and there were Chi-Chi. Some weren't, some were, but, I mean, you had so much flair. But not just you, but a lot of other guys on the tour. Norman had flair. Tiger obviously has what he has and sometimes completely stoic. What do you see now from golfers? Are there enough personalities, or is they just become so numb?
Well, I wouldn't say numb, but I would say that it's a completely different thing now. Back in the old days, most of your caddies came off the caddy ranks, or they were assistant pros. So they had not only personalities, but They had social skills. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you worked in a pro shop. You could sell a guy a pair of 10D shoes when he wore an 11E. That's when you know you were good. That's when you know you really had a lot of baloney to you.
Uh-huh.
And that's where all these people came from. And that's why they were flamboyant. They were funny. They interacted with the gallery. They did a lot of stuff. Now it's changed. Most of these kids now are all out of college. As you well know, colleges have 10 to 15 players. You can't have many clowns. You know what I'm saying? They're quiet. Go about your business. Leave everything alone. And so they come out and they play professional golf the same way. I enjoy watching them. I like it because I'm not really interested in their personality or how funny they are or anything like that. I like the way they play. There's so many great players today that it's very difficult to pick one. When I played in the late 60s and early 70s, if you could beat 10 guys, generally you won the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing. And there was no money, very little money, so the field was always very strong for the exception of Jack. Jack only played like 16, 17 tournaments a year. He didn't play that much. Mr. Palmer was kind of on the back end of his career, as you well know, because he's 10 years older than I am, and I was 28 when I went on tour. So, but now today you got DJ. I mean, and you got Kepta, and you got Thomas. You got Jordan Spieth. You got so many good players. Ricky. I mean, it's they got some guns out there. You better not mess up.
Yeah.
They'll go right by you.
Did you ever think Tiger would win another major when he went through from 2008? Did you ever think he'd make it back?
I did not, and I'll tell you the God's truth. Jaime Diaz came to my house about 3 or 4 years ago, after he got hurt, and I talked. Nota Begay, I talked to him to bring Tiger down to see my doctor that straightened me out down here at the North Texas Back Institute. I never got anything back, and Tiger never came. And finally he did, and they fixed him, but it's 2 years later. And we were doing an article about that, and I told him that Tiger had a tremendous amount of talent. And I said, this is going to stimulate him a little bit, being hurt, because people are talking that he's through and he's finished and everything. And I said, that's going to be his whole motivation, is being hurt and proving to people that he can still play. I said he's not lost his talent. And I said he will win another tournament. And then Jaime asked me about the major. I said, I don't think that he can win another major. And no one was pulling harder for Tiger Woods than I was at Augusta. I mean, it was the most thrilling thing. I actually think that he plays better now than he played back then, because I actually think he's working from the inside underneath, and he's hitting a high cut now. Instead of trying to hit the ball 380 yards, he's accepted the fact that he's a 290 to a 300-yard hitter. And he's gotten to where he can hit the ball straighter. He's not lost his putting. Short game he's not lost. No one works harder than him. That's the other thing. You can say what you want to about people practicing. Tiger's got a driving range at his house. People don't realize this. Tiger, I lived on the island. When Tiger came there, he bought 4 houses, 16 acres, right on the island. And he's got a driving range there that he can hit drivers. He can do anything he wants to. And he's got putting. He not only has one putting green, he has 3 putting greens with different grasses. So it depends on where he's going to play. If the golf course has Bermuda, he practices on the Bermuda. If he finds out meter that the speed on that Bermuda grass green is 12, he will have his green mode at 12. You understand? And he practices the week or 2 weeks before he has to go to that tournament. If it's bent grass, then he does it then he has another green over there to chip to. He doesn't chip to the putting one because he doesn't want to dent them. Yeah.
Lee,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My last question for you, and thanks for the time. You've given us more than we asked
Sure.
for, but you love the game. You love playing the game, and it showed. But you could get into, if you got quiet, did that mean you were uptight, or did that mean okay, now's the time to get even more focused?
I never got quiet too much. My deal is wasn't that much. That's what I used to tell people. I would talk to my caddy. I had to talk to somebody. I loved talking to my caddy. He was the funniest guy in the world. He weighed 370 pounds.
God, he was
and
great.
Herman was the greatest.
Oh.
And I got to tell you this little story. We're at the PGA. He had gout. He couldn't walk very well. I'm going to the last round. I'm going from the putting green to the first tee. And there was a guy sitting on a little seat right at the end of the tee. And as we're walking up, Herman is barely moving his feet. And Herman says, and the guy hollered down at me with a big mouthful of tobacco. He says, Lee, he says, where do you feed that caddy? I said, redneck. And Herman says, and Herman says, and I'm getting hungry too. But we killed him. One more little story, and I'll let you go. We came down to the 14th hole there, and he couldn't walk to the tee because he was cutting across to the fairway because he wanted to win a tournament. He never won a major. And so I take the driver, and I get up there, and the wind's blowing in a different direction that I don't like, and it's a very short little hole, dogleg right. So I ran down the flight of 2 stairs, and I'm screaming at him. I said, Herman, I got the wrong club. He said, what? I said, I got the wrong club. I said, I need a 3-wood. He said, choke up on the driver, baby.
Oh, my God.
So I choked up on the driver, and I hit it perfect.
Well, that's a great story. That's because you could move the ball, man. Yeah. That's what you did. Oh, God.
My man, I appreciate it. I just wanted to tell you again that if you need any hats, T-shirts, or head coverage, you spend $9,000 on these damn clubs. You need a good head cover. We got them all, and just Google me up, baby.
Well, what is there a specific link you want to mention it? We can.
Well, no, the whole thing it's just a little company that my son manages me, and we just starting it.
All right.
It's called supermexgolf.com.
All right.
Or it's on Instagram, or it's Supermex Golf.
You got it.
Well, and we got all first class stuff. Yeah.
I will. You know what? You gave me a thrill to have you on the show. I know there haven't been many guests we've ever had in my near 40 years of anything radio, television, but getting you on was fantastic. I've interviewed you at those pro-ams before.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Thank you very much for being a part of the show.
I want to give your elderly listeners a tip. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. One, as you're getting older, because I'm 80 now, and I dissect everything because I hit a lot of balls, and I can still play like hell, and I hit a lot of balls. But I look at the elderly guys that are playing, and they're getting shorter and shorter, and they're duck hooking and hitting the ball low. And let me tell you what's happened. As you get older, you don't think you're going to get the ball in the air, so people start getting the ball too far forward. And then they can't get to it because, see, as you get older, you can't turn as well as you used to.
Mm-hmm.
So what we need to do is they're starting to open their stance a little bit, move the ball back. That's the secret. The secret is to move the ball back. Play your wedges and everything, even your driver in the middle of the stance, and move the irons back towards your right foot. You'll be surprised how much better you'll hit it.
How about that, man? Get a lesson from the great Lee Trevino. Thank you so much. Again, it's supermexgolf.com. You can get things on there. And then, Lee, thank you so much for starting the show off with us. Have a fantastic and stay safe.
Okay, don't be bashful, Paul. David, give me a call anytime. You got the number.
That's great. Thanks, Lee. Lee Trevino.
Good stuff there.
was hilarious.
Great stories.
Craig just said, hey, I'll sit back and listen to him.
No, somebody, I don't think anybody out there is probably wondering, where was Craig during the interview? But if anybody was, there are just certain times where I know that you two might have a greater knowledge of a guest or have better questions than I would. So I'm just going to, until something creeps in my head, I'm going to sit back and, you know what? I had no reason to interrupt what you guys were doing right there. So that was fantastic.
Imagine playing guys who are probably all business owners, CEOs, whatever, even back in the 60s or late 50s, and you have $2 in your pocket and you're playing for $5. That's how you find out if you pucker up on a 4-footer to win a hole. God, that was so much fun. I gushed all over him. I don't do that. You know me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but it's still, I mean, that's a generational. That's generational talent as far as golf.
Yeah.
When I was growing up and my dad was watching golf, I guess, more of it was when he was on the senior tour, but my dad would talk about Lee Trevino and Chi-Chi Rodriguez and Jack Nicklaus and those guys. That's who he would talk about. So, like, those, for me, Lee Trevino, and, of course, I asked him about Happy Gilmore. I mean, that's from our youth, Craig.
Man.
And he had a very funny part in that movie, and it was so simple and so silly, but he was the perfect guy for it.
Yeah,
he was, and I just hope that I have that type of life in me when I'm, 80 years old, 81 years old, because he sounds like he's just got so much pep in his step and loving life, and that's always great to hear.
From the Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a text line from 972, wow. The Willis Law Firm. That Trevino interview was the best from BU Bear and Arc. Awesome work. MTB Mark, by the way, just downloaded the app, listening live in the background. Love the app. I'm using iPhone 10.
Oh, great.
So thank you very much. That was unbelievable. We appreciate you listening. And coming up next, we'll have a couple of notes about some things in sports. Also, of course, that's what we do. The fight we saw, the UFC fights over the weekend. There's one fight. I've never seen somebody take such a beating in my life. Over 5 rounds in the UFC, and they're 5-minute rounds, not 3. We'll also have Baylor defensive backs coach Brian Stewart. We'll have Tate Williams from Wall. He committed to Baylor over the weekend. And Everson Walls and Michigan All-American John Jansen. I mean, all throughout the day on SicEm365 Radio.
Alan Samuels presents the return of 0%. It's back. 0% for 72 and no payments for up to 120 days. Choose your car, truck, or SUV and get 0% financing with no payments for 120 days through Chrysler Capital. New Rams, new Jeeps, and new Dodge SUVs and minivans. Shop safely at our dealership. Shop and buy online, and we deliver test drives to you. Your friend in the car business. Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Hi, this is Conley football coach Shane Anderson. I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, the text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. As you just heard, David, that was at your age group era. You enjoyed yourself. Yeah, Leon, thank you for listening, as always, from Too Tall Hall. What a storyteller Trevino is, no question. He's one of those you could sit around and never have to say a word.
We could have had him for all 3 hours, honestly. Seems like he was game for it, too.
Yeah, thanks to Randy Galloway and Ian Fitzsimmons, two great guys that have done radio in Dallas, for helping kind of just put me in the right direction. I'd reached out to Trevino 2 or 3 years ago, didn't work out. Then I called him Saturday, answers the phone. Click, dead air. I'm like, he just hung. And then he called me back. I go to answer the phone, it's dead air. I'm like, and then he said, let's do it. What time?
Yeah.
Also from What a Storyteller. Also the Willis Law Firm chat room. Again, the awesome work from BU Bear in Arkansas on the Trevino thing. And General Turlington, retired Lieutenant General Tom Turlington, I didn't get to hear all of it, but did he talk about playing golf with a Dr. Pepper bottle? He could, I've heard that story too. It doesn't get any better than Lee. I know we have a short segment. Brian Stewart will join us, Baylor defensive backs coach, at 4. So this UFC thing that we watched on Saturday, this guy Ferguson, Paul, you didn't watch it. It was pay-per-view.
No, I saw the replays.
I didn't ask Trevino about playing with no fans because that would be something he'd love to have. I thought he could be walking like legally was dead while fighting still. He had taken so many punches from, who's this guy?
So for those that don't know what you're talking about, UFC held a card this past weekend on Saturday night, UFC 249. It's their first big event since returning from coronavirus, and Dana White's been on the forefront of, the leaders of sports organizations in this country. He's been one of the most emphatic about getting back and finding ways to get back and being the first step in the puzzle to getting everybody else back at some point. So he's kind of taking that on his shoulders along with, the Vince McMahons and some others. And we're starting to see the leagues open up a little bit more. But on Saturday night, they had a loaded card. Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje in the main event for the interim championship belt. And it was a slobber knocker of epic proportions. And there was about, I would say, 15 times within the first 4 rounds of Gaethje and Ferguson where you thought Justin Gaethje had to have knocked him out. And Ferguson just kept moving forward and taking shots and moving forward. And it was a beating. It was incredible to behold. Credit to Tony Ferguson for just being a fighter, man, and for giving it everything that he had. But Gaethje was very, very impressive, and looks like he'll probably end up holding that interim title and then probably fighting Khabib for the real deal. But yeah, Ferguson-Gaethje was a tremendous event on Saturday night.
Yeah, I saw the highlights of it, and Ferguson has a fractured orbital bone and all this crazy. I mean, he looked smashed up. By the way, Brian Stewart will totally be ready to go. He's on Lombardi time, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I told him, I said, I've got to get this one break in.
That's great. No, that's fantastic. Baylor defensive backs coach Brian Stewart.
What did you think? I mean, there's an event. There was no fans out there.
It was interesting without the fans. And, of course, Buffer, the young Buffer. He tried
the good Buffer, Michael, not Michael, but Michael's the younger, right? Bruce is the $1 million for every time.
Michael Buffer is boxing. Bruce Buffer is the guy that
Bruce is better.
Bruce is better. I mean, it was okay. They could only do, it was a little bit different. But you know what? It's like what Jennifer actually said. I just want to see live sports. Mm-hmm. So they did this, and it was okay. This guy took a beating though, and then finally it was just a straight jab that basically just like rocked his world.
He couldn't take anymore. He had
nothing
taken
left.
So many shots.
But that was interesting.
15 times that anybody else would have been knocked out, and he just kept going.
Yeah,
I just knew he was going to land some backhanded kick or something like that and win the fight in the last minute of the round. Coming up, man, if you miss Lee Trevino, we have Switzer, who was fantastic, Bennett, fantastic, and Lee Trevino. That's the Hall of Fame right now, right?
Yeah, that's
with all due respect to all the others who have been fantastic.
They have busts. Right, that's who has busts in the SicEm365 radio.
When we come back, Baylor had a good weekend in recruiting, a wide receiver, an offensive lineman. Tate Williams joins us at 4:30, but defensive backs coach and former Cowboys defensive coordinator Brian Stewart next on SicEm365 radio.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Hi, this is Tyler Holcomb, Athletic Director and Head Football Coach at Bishop Lewis Riker, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Play fake into the corner on the fade. Intercepted by Kalen Barnes. Down the sidelines. He's going to step out. Huge play to close this half. Oklahoma State would have had points.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
We are now joined by Baylor defensive backs coach Brian Stewart here on SicEm365 Radio. Craig, Paul, David, Smokey, and also Deontay Epps, the birthday boy from a couple of days ago, helping run the mothership. Coach Stewart, thank you for being a part of the show, by the way. Thanks for being a part of it. I just got off the phone with Wade Phillips. I think you did too, right?
Oops. We
got him?
There. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. We got him now.
Yes,
I got
sir.
you now.
I just got off the phone. I had tried to call Coach Phillips a few minutes ago, and now I know why he couldn't answer. I guess he was on the phone with the Baylor football staff. Is that right?
Yes. With their defensive staff, he was Zooming with us. Absolutely.
When you think of defense, and there's a lot of guys, but all the knowledge that he has in your head, wouldn't you like to just inject something in and then pop it into your head one day?
Absolutely. Actually, I would like to do it with him standing right there, because you inject it into your own head, you're going to try to make it more than it is, and he's going to keep it simple. He's going to keep it simple so the players can play fast. So you like to have him right there next to you. What did he tell the staff today, if you don't mind sharing some of that? Just what we just talked about right there. Practice. One of the big things that he talked about practice-wise, and just talk to your players is, they got to know what to do, they got to know how to do it, and then, they got to do it with 100% effort. You think about stuff like that, you're saying, well, that's obvious. Well, not everybody coaches like that. Not everybody thinks like that, and that's the essence of football right there, right? Just right there. He said, so, them knowing what to do, that's on the coaches. They need to know their alignment, they need to know their assignment, and and then that's on us. And then doing it with 100% effort, that's on the players. So he talked about that, talked about other things as far as, making sure that we have efficient movement, just how to practice, weekly game planning, stuff like that. So it was a great conversation for us.
You are stepping into a position group that lost, Graylin Arnold, but it's still got a lot of guys coming back. I played the highlight of Kalen Barnes, who's one of the fastest guys maybe in the whole country. What have you seen, even though you haven't got a lot of field work from your guys in the meeting room, so to speak?
I see some guys that are eager. One of the things that I always try to tell them early what they can expect is, I'm going to love them, I'm going to teach them, I'm going to mentor them. But I'm establish and maintain a standard of performance, and they've done a good job of understanding that standard of performance. Being accountable to our position, being accountable to our team goals, being accountable to Baylor's mission, the overall school mission. So those guys have done a great job. Coach Rule and his staff did an awesome job in recruiting and recruiting men, not just athletes, but good men. I really am enjoying talking to those guys in the meeting, shit, it's like I'm waiting for recess, man. I'm waiting for recess. I've been in the classroom the whole time. I want to roll out the football.
Coach, when Larry Fedora joined us about a week or so ago, one of the things that was surprising to us and some of the listeners was that he said he did not and had not yet gone back and won't go back and watch much film, if at all, from the offensive players from last year. For you, what is your approach? Because he's, I guess, wanting to start with more of a clean slate and have guys earn it. But for you, do you delve into what Kalen Barnes did or what Tejada did or what those guys have done previously, or are you looking for the blank slate as well?
No, I have an NFL background, and then NFL background, you really, really have to know what your guys do. And so what I've done is I've watched those guys' high school highlight tapes, so I knew what they were before they were at Baylor. Then I watched whatever I could watch of them in games, and then Josh Bookbinder did a great job of making me a point of attack tape of those guys at practice. So I could look at their one-on-one. I could look at their 7-on-7s at practice. So I can get a good view of who he is, who these players are.
You had been in touch before. You had conversations, I guess, and maybe at coaching clinics or wherever with Ron Roberts and Dave Aranda. What were your thoughts from afar when you watched what they do?
Well, I really could speak to Coach Aranda because we've spoken football-wise at least once a year. And, it's funny, before they went to the national championship, I came and sat down and we visited at LSU and we talked about some things. So, from the time he was at Delta State as a coordinator and I was at Dallas Cowboys and we sat down and talked to that time, we've always talked football. So one of the things that I've always admired about David is his football acumen and always wanting to know more. A lot of coaches, they look at something on film and then they kind of guesstimate. Oh, they must be telling this guy this. He's not that kind of guy. The kind of person Dave is he's going to see something that you do that he likes. He's going to call you. He's going to say, hey, Brian, I saw you guys doing this. Do you mind talking about it? So, yeah. So we talk about it. And then he said, okay, what'd you do? And so if he's going to use something that you use, he's going to use the whole recipe. He's not going to add the chocolate chips to do all that other bullshit other people do. He's going to use your recipe. And then now, of course, he'll put his spin on it once he understands and do it. But he's going to go in using it for the true essence of that defense, for what he talked to you about. And he can do that because he was able to sit down and talk to you and ask you pertinent questions to get the answers he needed so he could run the defense himself.
You, as you said, came from the NFL background. You've had tons of NFL experience. How important is it in the modern college game to have like a good mix of coaches on the staff that come from different walks, particularly now that, the ability to get somebody to the NFL is a big recruiting selling point?
Well, I think that, when you look at it, say, okay, NFL is 100% football. There's no recruiting. And you say, so what does that mean in the recruiting realm? When the recruiting realm, that means looking at the players and knowing exactly what you need players to do. So you're not just like with us. We have a pretty good trademark here at Baylor. We like the long, fast corners. That's kind of where we look at guys that can attack the ball. LSU had the same thing. The NFL, a lot of teams go with the long, fast corners. So now that's what you look for. You say, what about the nickel, the inside guy, the slot corner, whatever you want to call him. A lot of NFL teams go with a shorter guy. That's where their shorter guy is. Some teams don't, So I think what helps being an NFL coach, ex-NFL coach, is you define exactly what you want and where. And then now, as far as being a college coach, you really, really have an impact on those players, not just as a teacher, as a coach, but as a mentor. So mixing the NFL guys, the college guys, the older coaches, the younger coaches that are speaking their language and listen to their music, and then you got the older coaches that seen the game evolve from 2 backs to 1 back to back to 2 backs to 1 back. Having that in one staff that makes the ball that turns the ball over in your favor. You know, I think that Dave did a great job of a mix of coaches, and I think hopefully we get opportunity to get out there and roll this ball out there. You guys get opportunity to see that.
Coach, speaking of that mix of guys, you have, as a staff, had an incredible run here over the last few weeks in recruiting for 2021, in one case 2022. I know you can't talk specifics, but just seeing the recruiting job that's already being done with so much out of your control right now, how much excitement does it give you guys to what's already being done right now, but also what you're capable of moving forward?
No, anytime you got opportunity of young men wanting to be part of what you're selling, what you're doing, that's awesome. And then be able to show and sell a university like Baylor is awesome. So we're excited about that, but we know that there's so many unknowns. So it's best to get those guys on board, keep those guys on board, and then keep recruiting, because it's gonna be longer. It's going to be longer than we want, and we got to make sure that we do a good job of bringing these guys along and keeping the guys that we have, because once we identify guys, we've been doing a great job of that. Other schools are trying to pluck what we have. We got to make sure that we understand that, and we don't stop recruiting the guys and say they want to be with us.
Other than the age and experience and even the physical ability, what is the difference, Brian, between recruiting a high school player to college and recruiting a college player to the NFL, or scouting a college player into the NFL?
I think first the similarities. You want to make sure the guy has the skill set you want. You want to make sure that the guy fits in the room and understands your team mission. Those three are universal, right? Then as far as the big difference is the influencers. I'll tell you, one of the big differences is young guys are really gonna need your mentorship. College guys, high school to college, are gonna need mentorship. They're gonna need somebody to look at, somebody to know how to act as a man, somebody how to walk in a classroom, somebody knows how to be on the field. So they're really looking for mentorship, whether they say it or not. In the NFL, they're not necessarily looking for mentorship. They're just looking for guidance, somebody to show them technique-wise what's going to make them the best. They're not worried about you turning them to a better person. Sometimes they'll like you, sometimes they won't, but they're not worried about the personality of the person as much as they are, can you make them better? Can you improve where they are now as a player? Where in college, we got to work more on the person, and that's what Baylor does a great job with. Is working on the person, especially with our student assessment centers. We just do a great job. Our student performance center, they do a great job with these kids, man. They teach them. There's so many different elements that help these kids out nowadays at the college level that Baylor takes serious. It's not just they're just not talking about it during recruiting. We actually do it. And I think that's because of the size of the school. I think it's because of the love of the people that are in Waco that want to help out the Baylor community. I think that's one of the reasons why it's we have an easier go at it now recruiting than maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Coach, we've had a number of the assistants and also Coach Aranda on here over the last few weeks, and glad to have you on with us as well. And so I've asked a few of the position coaches this question and want to get your thoughts. When somebody talks about a Brian Stewart coached cornerback, what are the traits and the characteristics and the style of player that they're going to be talking about?
You're going to see a person who's going to play fast. Technique-wise, you're going to look at his footwork. He's going to do the same. If he's playing press, he's going to take the same press footwork consistently. If he's playing off, he's going to take the same walk steps out when he's playing off. He's going to be very consistent. He's going to be very diligent. He's going to be excited to play the game. It's going to show in his play and his enthusiasm towards the game. And he's going to understand He's going to understand situations. If it's 3rd and 5, and we're playing man, he's going to press. If it's 4th and 12, and we're playing man, he's going to play off. He's going to understand those situations. You're going to see an excited player. You're going to see a very technique sound player.
Brian, you've been in the NFL and college. I've mentioned that before, but you left the NFL to come to Baylor. What was it that brought you to Baylor? You've mentioned Coach Aranda and a lot of what Baylor. It seemed like a lot of the coaches have mentioned how special it is here, and you've only been here for a short amount of time. What was it? What was the difference?
Well, I mean, I've been, and I have to be careful how I say this. But I've been to schools, I've coached at schools where the mission was to win football games, and some of the players fit that mission but didn't fit any other mission. And that bothered me. That bothered me. I always like to say that I believe in faith, family, and football in that order. And then if I do believe that, then I'm recruiting guys just for the football aspect, not the faith, not the family, not the personal aspect, then I'm wrong. And so that's one thing about Baylor. When you say faith, family, football, it's all here. It shows. It shows. Mac Rhodes, it shows. Kim Mulkey, it shows. That all those things we talk about, faith, family, and football shows. I just look at Coach Mulkey, how she feels about her family, how she feels about her faith, and then she gets after her players, all doing it, believing in faith, family, and football, and winning at a high level. So you can't tell me it can't be done. It can be done. And I think that you look at what Rule has done, just taking his time, telling them that they could be the best they could be here, and just getting the people that fit the faith, family, football, and winning with those guys. That's where you want to be. You want to be where the kids have strong faith. They believe in something higher than themselves. You want to be a place where family is supporting your family as well as the family you're creating with your player, your group, and as well as the staff. And then football, you want a chance where you got opportunity to win championships. And if you win all your games, you go to the playoffs. Not everybody can say that. Not every conference can say they win every game in their conference. They can go to the playoffs, and we can't. And we've seen that happen in our conference. So that's why Baylor's so attractive.
Just a couple more questions. Brian Stewart, defensive backs coach at Baylor.
Coach, the first time we got to meet you was at the media availability there back a couple months ago. One of the things you said that I thought stuck out to me about you was that one of the reasons you work out as hard as you do is so you can eat cheeseburgers and pizza and stuff. Now, I know that we've been quarantined, but have you gotten a chance to get out and get something here locally, cheeseburgers and pizza or whatever you want, so that you can, make those workouts worth it?
You know what? It's funny you say that. I have been working out. I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm too vain to be overweight. So that's one of those. So I work out, and my wife will not let me eat out. I mean, it's the damnedest thing. She won't. So I've been eating good. I think this is the most I've had sprouts in my life.
Oh man,
in my life.
Oh, God. Oh.
So you're talking about a cheeseburger and wings guy. That's me. So you can imagine, we keep on eating these Brussels sprouts, and it's funny. I have 3 daughters. My daughters just look at me, and I try not to make a face. But Jim and me, how many times can you eat Brussels sprouts, man?
And not make a face, yeah.
You know what my mom would do with us? I had 3 brothers and a sister. If we got in trouble, my mother would then just soak Brussels sprouts in water. They wouldn't cook them on the grill. She would soak them in water, and we all had a glass of milk. Unfortunately, I thought I was smart by drinking milk and leaving a couple of Brussels sprouts. The unfortunate part, they were clear glasses.
Oh, my God.
That's true.
So my mom said, okay, drink your milk.
Jeez.
Oh, God. That brings back some very bad memories.
Yeah.
You mentioned I know you got to go, Coach. You had mentioned Mac Rhodes. You were at Houston when he was there. What about the fact that he was here as well? And you mentioned the goal, the commitment, the mission, all that at Baylor. What kind of man he's been, and also the fact what he's done at Baylor in his time since August of 2016.
Well, one of the things that I've known him and Jeremiah Dickey both from Houston, and I thought that at Houston it was important that we got that stadium built. Now, I wasn't there. We weren't there for that stadium to be built, but that was important. And we did it off of playing good football. We did it off of guys believing in each other, believing in the mission, believing in the athletic department mission, believing in the school standards, So, and I think Mac Rhodes always made that very clear in speaking to not just the coaching staff, but the athletic staff. And then so coming here, I understood that he was going to hold the coaches to that standard. And I think that's what you want in the athletic department. You want somebody to hold us to a standard of excellence, one standard, one accord, and I think that has shown. That has shown. You look at the other sports. You look at the coaches that have come in and have joined in and done a great job, and just that's exciting. Be a part of something that's good is exciting.
Have you ever been part of more pressure than coaching the Cowboys? Is there ever? I know you've been under pressure, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about being there for a couple of years with Coach Phillips. Is that one of the more intense places you've ever been?
That probably was the most pressure I've ever been under. Yeah. Everybody, they're a team that if you don't go to the Super Bowl, everybody's disappointed. No matter who's the quarterback, no matter who's the running back, no matter what the situation is, everybody believes that the so-called America's team should go to the Super Bowl. And if they don't, they're not a success. My time there, I thought we played good defense. We were ranked 9th and 10th. We led the league in 2008 in sacks. Mm-hmm. So we weren't a bad defense. Now I couldn't do anything when Romo got hurt. So we didn't have at the time we didn't have a viable backup that could win games for us. We had a guy that could do a good job of managing the games, but he couldn't win games for us, and that's kind of it. But as a defensive coordinator, and you're trying to get your guys to play the best that they could play, that's all you could do. Yep. And then you kind of let everything happen the way it happens. But I was very proud of my accomplishments and time there. I thought guys flourished under the defense that we played, and I think that Coach Phillips would say the same. That we had fun. First year we were 13-3. We did a pretty good job, and lost to the eventual Super Bowl champ at that time. So you got to just a lot of learned lessons from that. How to handle success, how to handle failure, how to be confident in the way you go about your business, especially when you're successful. When you're successful and you don't always win the prize, that doesn't mean you're not successful. That means you're going to have to try a little harder. You're going to have to do something differently the next time to win the prize. And that's some of the things that I picked up from that experience.
Thank you so much, Brian, and good luck with the Brussels sprouts tonight.
Yeah, great stuff, Coach.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much. Man,
all righty. Thanks, guys.
That's Brian Stewart, Cowboys cornerbacks coach.
Formerly, now with Baylor.
Baylor cornerbacks coach, former defensive coordinator at Dallas. Yeah, 2018, they were 9-7. Romo goes down. Yeah. They had that little slide.
Well, I think it was cool that the staff just got off a meeting with Wade Phillips.
Yeah.
I would imagine that was something that Brian Stewart was heavily involved in making happen, given his connection to good old Wade. But, that's a staff that's already got some great defensive minds on it, and just mixing and talking football with Wade Phillips. we're never going to be able to peek in on all of these Zoom meetings that are going on, but if we were afforded the opportunity just every once in a while, like check in on any random meeting, if you could check in on Baylor defensive staff talking with Wade Phillips and getting ideas and thoughts and stuff, that would be a really cool listen, I would imagine. So good stuff there. And I liked a lot of what he had to say. I'll obviously go back and listen again probably later on tonight and recap it for the site, but really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, that's great. And Coach Phillips is like, I said, can you come on tomorrow to discuss the meeting? He goes, I'm booked tomorrow too. I bet they and Dave Arend is never afraid, nor coaches that really are good, to listen to somebody else and what they have to say. And it made it pretty simple. Coming up, Tate Williams from Wall High School. We might have a sliver of a segment.
He'll be next.
Okay, he'll be next. This is SicEm365 Radio. Oh, my goodness. Live crawfish is available at Waco Custom Marketplace. And if you want, you can call them. Go online, wacocustommarketplace.com. Place your order for 30-pound bags of live crawfish. Do it by sometime Thursday and have it to pick up on Friday. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The drive-thru's available, so you can call or go online and order your live crawfish, $3 a pound, 30-pound bags, and it'll be ready for you when you need it on Friday. Waco Custom Marketplace, their own drive-thru, again, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can still get all of what you need from the butcher shop. Custom-made if you want. Steaks, beef, of course, poultry, pork, seafood, the bakery with cakes and cookies and kolaches and much more, and even fresh bread. If you want, for example, the ribeye steaks or sirloin steaks on occasion, depends on what day it might be, just ask when you call or go by, and they have a menu out back, and you can find out what's the best special that specific day. If you want anything from as simple as a loaf of white bread to fresh carrots and Idaho or red beet potatoes or live crawfish 30-pound bags, remember, order by Thursday and pick it up on Friday. Waco Custom Marketplace, the Bauer family, what they've done is fantastic at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
All right. 4 o'clock hour's rolling. That Lee Trevino interview seemed like the first hour we just nuked it. Just went flying by. We'll have Tate Williams from Wall High School here momentarily. I did see this one note. Norman Chad, who's a columnist, I don't know exactly which newspaper, but he actually wrote this column, and the response was not very positive.
It's what you call getting ratioed. For those not on social media, when you get ratioed, it means that instead of having a bunch of likes and retweets and things like that, the number of replies that you have heavily outweighs the actual likes that you get.
The pandemic has reminded us we don't need more sports in our lives. We need less. Now, I have to tell you that there are times in which, maybe I just kind of forgot that there might not even be sports not being played because I've kind of almost gotten used to that. But it doesn't mean I want less. I can't wait for things to kind of get going again whenever, in fact, that might be.
And I didn't even read a lot of that column because it was one of those, I try to take into account with certain writers that they don't always get to choose their headlines. They have editors that go ahead and put the headlines in the at the top of the article, so they're not always in charge of that, and they can kind of get screwed over from time to time. You see it happen occasionally with a guy writing a story, and then his editor feels like, I'm going to put some inflammatory headline on there to get people talking. Well, I'm not sure if this was the case here because I saw the headline and just decided not to read it because I thought about how ridiculous it was. So not even sure what he had to say, but yeah, that was not a sentiment that many people wanted to hear right now.
Yeah, and that, but it was, again, there are some that maybe
for the
feel
Post,
that way.
the Washington Post, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, but I read the article, and I get what he was trying to do, but I can't.
Wasn't much to it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a well-written, all right, he's a good writer, but it's still, I don't know what the point of it was.
Right. Yeah. Probably just to be the guy who's the one saying to not bring sports back. I don't know. But, that was not a very popular opinion that was put out there yesterday.
All right, so over the weekend, 2 different commitments for Baylor football. Roderick Daniels, the wide receiver from Duncanville. And before that, Tate Williams from Wall High School committed to Baylor, and Dave Aranda. And Tate now, joins us now on SicEm365 Radio. So, you've always been younger than anyone else in your class. Is that correct? You're kind of a young junior, a young 7th grader. What's that been like for you?
Well, I've always grown up like it, so it's never really held me back from anything. I've always had the mindset I've had to work harder than everybody else, being the young guy, and I've always, it's just been a little bit of motivation to work harder.
You come from some great genes with your mom, your dad, your grandfather. All of them have been very successful with what they do. How much do you know about how good they were in athletics?
Well, my dad, whenever he was in college, he won a national championship at ASU in Angelo, and then my grandpa played football for North Texas, and he was a big shot and disc thrower. I think he threw the discus 190 feet, and then the shot was over 60. But my mom was an outstanding athlete as well. She was supposed to win national championship in the shot and the hammer, but had an appendix rupture the day before the meet. So, but she was an outstanding athlete in both high school and college, as well as my dad and my grandpa.
So you've definitely got good genes, Tate. Now, as far as your recruitment to Baylor, can you sort of take us through the process of just when that all sort of began for you, what that was like, getting to know the coaches, and then ultimately what led you to deciding, hey, this is where I want to play and this is who I want to play with for the next few years?
Well, a couple months ago, Coach Blanchard reached out to me and let me know he'd seen my tape and he really liked what he saw. And this was I guess 2 months ago now, but it kind of all went on from there. But I was the only one that they really hadn't seen in person yet, so that was what was really holding them back from what I understood. And I sent them multiple videos of me doing different drills and standing next to door frames and tape measures and making sure they believed who I said I was. And it kind of all went from there. But here this Friday, I got a call from Coach Wickline saying Coach Aranda wanted to talk to me on the phone, and that was quite the honor for me to be able to speak with him and have a conversation with someone as reputable as he is. But they made me that offer on Friday, and I had a conversation with my parents and head coach about whether or not this was the right decision for me. And I decided that Baylor was the place I wanted to be for the next 5 years.
What was that moment like for you, Tate? I'd imagine, there's a lot of people that grew up of getting a scholarship offer, being recruited, things like that. When you had that conversation with Dave Aranda and he told you that, hey, they want to offer you to play, just what was that moment like for you personally?
Well, I mean, it was honestly a dream come true, man. I really have been. It's been something that I've looked forward to my entire life, that I've been working for, and it just kind of motivation to continue to stay in the weight room and work harder to be the best on the college level. And I really appreciate everything that's brought me to this moment. Apparently, especially my coaches and my parents, and helping me get through the lulls and the downs. But it's quite the honor to be able to play for a program such as Baylor.
When I called and spoke with you earlier this afternoon, I was wanting to try to get in touch with one of your parents or both to get a little background on you, and they were great. You were working out in the garage, I guess, that moment, right?
Yes, sir. Now we got our athletic director let us borrow a couple plates and a bar from the weight room, and we've been making do with what we have. I mean, we've been doing box jumps on our tailgate and running sprints up and down the road, and trying to make do with what we got.
Your grandfather, you mentioned, played football at North Texas. Joe Green, I believe, at the same time might have been there. Do you know that comment he said about Joe Green?
Yes, sir. No, he was he described himself as Mean Joe Green's tackling dummy.
Him and a lot of other guys.
He wasn't the only one. He was absolutely not the only one. All right. I don't know if you live on a farm. I know you have farm in your blood, and you and your sister Cameron are doing a lot of things, including watermelons. Can you describe an everyday of when you get up and what you guys do?
Well, I'm out now. We've been putting pipe in a well. I stepped out to the pickup so I can get on this phone call, but no, whenever we get up, we'll normally get our schoolwork done and work out, and we'll head out here. And the past couple of weeks, we've been working on fence and trying to get it to where deer stay out of our cotton. But we've got a 2,500 acre cotton farm that we run out here. My grandpa started it when he was about 18 years old, and me and my dad come out here and help a lot. My dad's got some of his own land now, and I hope to run this one day whenever I get a little older. But me and my sister share a watermelon business in the summer, and we grow about 1.5 acres of watermelons. We'll do red seedless, yellow seedless, black diamonds, and pretty much anything that'll make do with what the customers want. So a lot of it goes to the farmers market and selling to local neighbors.
He's becoming my favorite.
I was going to say, Aranda does not have to worry about work ethic. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, he's out there putting in a lot of work.
Tate Williams is our guest from Wall High School on SicEm365 Radio.
Yeah, you said pipe in a well. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, sir. No, we got an old well out here on one of our fields that it's been here for about 100 years, and we've thought about putting a new pump in it and making it run again. That way we wouldn't have to drive all the way back to the house whenever we're spraying out here to refill with water. But so that's what we're doing right now. But I stepped aside to take this phone call right quick. But it's pretty good stuff. We've been working on it for about the past hour or so.
Well, Tay, we won't keep you too much longer so you can get back to work. But I was curious, have you been on campus previously? Had you visited at any other time? And if you haven't, was like the virtual tour part of sort of the getting to know the campus that a lot of schools are having to do right now? Did you go to a virtual tour of sorts to get more familiar?
Well, I've never actually been on campus at Baylor. I've been to Waco, but I haven't even taken a virtual tour yet. But the people and the people that I've talked to, including Coach Blanchard and Coach McGuire and Coach Wickline and Coach Aranda, I mean, all of them are they seem like great people. And over the phone and what I've heard from other people is just, I mean, that was enough for me. And, I know a lot of people that have graduated from Baylor, and, talking to them, even though they may be just a little bit biased, they've said a lot of good things about it. And, from an academic standpoint, Baylor's a great school, and it's something that I can really set my future on, and I'd be willing to make that commitment.
The interesting note about Tate, he threw 51 8-shot, 166-2 discus before things were shut down, and then a week or so later just went out and did it and beat both of those numbers. Are you going to do track and field at Baylor?
Yes, sir. I'm hoping to. Maybe my sophomore year. I'll try to get a hold on things first, and then see if I can pack the schedule a little more.
You mentioned your father and your mother, Christy and Ty, that your dad and your grandfather, who's a big man, when you were younger, you were not allowed to play football. How much of a conflict or a little bit of back and forth did that take?
Well, I wasn't allowed to play any kind of pee-wee football. My dad tore both his knees up in high school playing football, so he didn't really want to risk me doing that at a young age. So 7th grade was the first year that I got to play, and I was a B team nobody, and so I started out on the B team in 7th grade, and I moved up to 8th grade. I ended up playing on the A team, but I didn't start. And freshman year I started on the JV, and then sophomore year I ended up starting on the varsity. And every single day at practice and every game I've had to wear knee braces, and I'm grateful for that because they've saved me several times.
I bet they did. Hey, you go back to laying whatever you're doing, Paul. He's putting pipe down in a culvert or whatever.
Yeah. And save us a couple watermelons.
Yeah,
bring some watermelons to Waco. Yeah.
Tell your mom and dad. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll bring some down this summer.
All right, there you go.
Sounds good.
And good luck to Cameron. That's his younger sister. She's a huge track and volleyball, baseball, all that. It's a great family. Just hard work in America right there.
Yeah.
That's Tate Williams from Wall High School, committed to Dave Aranda and company over the weekend.
I got to say, and I waited until I hung up to say this, that's a whiff on A&M's part right there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're a school that has an actual cheer that says Farmers Fight, and you've got an actual farmer, and he's going somewhere else. That's a whiff. Sorry, Jim, that's a whiff right there.
All right, coming up next, Charles Lewis. He's an NCAA official, and remember, the high school football season, who knows what might happen in the next couple of months or whatever when they start to get chance. I saw even a coach the other day tweet out something about some workouts, not team workouts, but things starting up at the end of the week. But TASO, Texas Association of Officials, and the Waco chapter, Jacob Bradshaw and, of course, also Brad Strickland, two great guys, as they try to recruit new officials. We're going to hear from an NCAA official, and he started at the TASO or Texas chapter in high school football officials. Charles Lewis, next on SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. The Buick Encores right now are the perfect crossover SUV with a quiet ride, a roomy interior, and they are packed with safety features and the latest technology. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores are in stock, 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus $1,250 in savings. Or you can save $6,000 and drive off in a Buick Encore for only $19,900. You can also get 0% for 84 months. Continue on with other deals at Richard Carr. That includes the 2020 GMC line of Sierras, Yukons, Acadias, Terrains, Canyons, and the lineup of Buick SUVs. All 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers. Richard Carr Motors is overloaded with used cars and trucks with over 120 now in stock. They need to move these vehicles right now. Richard Carr has over 30 used trucks in stock, all at low inventory overload prices. Great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
The biggest, toughest, hardest-working heavy-duty trucks are on sale at Allen Samuels. Now, get employee pricing for all on new Ram heavy duties and no payments for 90 days. These unprecedented incentives won't last long. HDs for farm and ranch, for business and all commercial operations. Ram Heavy Duties, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Drive forward with Ram. From your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Ask for details. All offers with approved credit.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco with Crown Royal. They've got that. They've got Balcones. They've got single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, brimstone. Fantastic stuff. Some of the best you can find. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family owned and operated in a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help you and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Yes, our coverage of Baylor in college football, the Cowboys in the NFL, what we do, but the core and still what we love to discuss as well as high school football. And right now that's kind of in a holding pattern. But the season, at some point, you would think, is going to start, and there might even be now off-season workouts that start to happen here pretty soon. We're now joined by Chuck Lewis. He's an NCAA football official. He's also worked in the Waco chapter of TASO, and he joins us on SicEm365 Radio because there's always the need for someone to do high school football in the state of Texas, as popular as the sport might be. Chuck, thanks for joining us. We're going to get into things you've done at the NCAA level, but why did you get into this? Why did you become an official?
You know, Smokey, I started back in 1988, and I was asked by the chapter secretary at that time, Pete Mejia, who you know very, very well.
Yep.
They were short of officials here in town, and Pete asked me, he said, "Hey, I want you to try this. I'll take you under my wing. I want you to try this. I'll teach you the ropes. I'll put you on my crew for some games, and I want you to try it for a year. If you don't like it after a year, quit." And at the time, I was working at the bank. I wasn't making a whole lot of money. I thought having a part-time job doing this, I thought I knew the rules. Love the strategy of the game, love the pomp and circumstance of a Friday night game, and just thought, this would be something I'd love to try to do. And I have just had tremendous joy ever since then.
Chuck, I had a friend whose father, when we were growing up, was a referee, and when the NFL refs went on strike, they got mad at some of the college guys who went and worked some of those games and what ultimately turned out to just be the preseason. And one of the things that guy said to the NFL officials, and they said, you're crossing the line. He goes, "I don't see any of you guys on Wednesday and Thursday nights doing JV games to train young officials. So you don't tell me what to do." And I always admired that about him, because it really does start with those guys doing JV games on Thursday nights, doesn't it?
That's where it starts, and you can't blame them for taking their shot. Those guys have come from calling junior high games at Muni Stadium, Pee Wee games on Saturdays, and for them to just get one shot at a game like that in the facilities that they could go to, you certainly can't blame them for taking the shot.
The Waco football chapter, by the way, you can go on Facebook, or you can find them by contacting them on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter. There's also a website, wacofootballchapter.com. It's the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. And Chuck Lewis is our guest. He's an NCAA official with us on SicEm365 Radio. What's the least you've ever been paid for a game?
The least I've ever gotten paid is $10 a game.
$10.
It's $10
to be told that no matter what you do, it's wrong, right?
I think for that $10 game, Smokey, I got yelled at the most working the $10 game.
That's the case. So if someone is you, before Pete Mejia came walking up to you and said, "Hey, just try it," what would you say to them right now? Recruit someone driving down 35, or someone that might be even in another part of the state listening to us online. What would you say to them?
I would tell them that the acquaintances, the colleagues, the fraternity of a football officiating chapter, you will meet the greatest fraternity of friends that will be with you for the rest of your life. And if you want to be the caretaker of a sport of football, the officials that work that game on Thursday night or Friday night, they are the caretakers of the game. And I've told people that want to do it, you got to have a special passion for the game. You got to have very thick skin. You got to be in shape. You got to study the rules. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. But above all else, the friendships and the camaraderie that go with the game of football officiating are unlike anything else that I've ever been a part of.
Is it gotten harder to recruit officials in the social media era?
It's tougher for a number of reasons. That's one of them. I think you also have just a number of distractions out in the world today. There's just so many other things that people can be doing on a Tuesday night a Thursday night or a Friday night, it's hard to set aside the time to be an official. So just the culture of today is tough. The criticism that goes with it is really hard as well. And setting aside a week that the two of you know how much preparation goes into a Friday night game. I listen to your calls, and no one understands the amount of preparation that goes into a Friday night midway football game other than the two of you. There's preparation that you're doing during the week, and people think that they turn on the radio at 7 o'clock and all of a sudden y'all are on the radio. There's hours that you guys spend in it, and so it's the same way with officiating. Good officials prepare tremendously for games, and that's one of the avenues that I see that hinders a lot of people from taking on these duties. Is that there's just a tremendous amount of preparation that goes into it.
Chuck, so I was just curious because there's been a lot of conversations. There's a lot of conversations happening right now about the return of sports and what that's going to look like and the precautions that will be necessary. What have the conversations been like in the officiating community just about what we're going through right now, what the future may look like?
Yeah, I'm on a conference call every week in the college conference that I work in the SEC, and there's just a lot of things that are being thrown out on the table just from a preparation standpoint. And it really all revolves around the schools, the commissioners, and the safety of the student athletes. And I think, we're using this time because we can't meet in person. We can't call spring football. We can't call 7-on-7. We can't even meet and do rule study sessions as a group. So I think the main thing that everything is revolving around is how do we get past the safety issue and make sure that fans, student athletes, and officials, have all the necessary safety precautions. And what they're trying to do right now is they're really trying to build a bridge across a river that they don't have the owner's manual. And so they're building the bridge and writing the owner's manual at the same time. So it's uncharted water. And each week I hear something different from my SEC colleagues. And so I think it's still to be determined.
So you worked the Idaho Potato Bowl. What couple of things happened. One, it's a different field. It's obviously a different turf. And I bet it was cold as hell.
It was very, very cold. It was about 15 when the game started, and it was single digits when it was done. It was real cold, and I'll never forget Coach Wells calling me over to the sideline and questioning one of our holding calls, and we probably missed it, but I reminded him that as long as I stayed over there to discuss that call, none of us were going to be able to get on the airplane to come home. And that ended the conversation pretty when
Lord.
You're in the SEC. I've wondered this. Is there a fan base that when you make a call when there's a call that they think is questionable, that you really want to get in that tunnel once the game's over?
Well, the tunnel's not always safe. So they're all tough. I'll be honest with you. There's not a school in the SEC that does not have a passionate fan base, and each one of them are a little different. Each one of them, have a different personality and a different culture, but none are tougher because each week when you walk into that stadium, they're tough. And their fans are passionate. They have waited all week long and sometimes all day Saturday to get ready for that game. So there's not one that stands out. Some of them use a little more colorful language than others, but they're all tough.
Roll Tide. That's a great compliment. You were asked to do it, Pete Mejia, and now you're working the great conference. of college football that develops what it does. June the 8th, by the way, I believe is when they're going to try to have their first, however they do this, the football officiating class. That comes from Jacob Bradshaw. Obviously, Brad Strickland does a great job with that, and we're talking to Chuck Willis, who's a part of it and has been a part of the Waco chapter before. Man, we appreciate it. Good luck, and I guess at some point you'll be able to put that whistle back around your neck and call games. We just don't know when. I know that's it. Kind of like
we hope we're all in the arena together, guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate what you guys do for our chapter and for the work that y'all do for Friday Night. Smokey, we appreciate you and Paul very much.
And Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke, thank you very much. That's Chuck Lewis of the SEC.
Yeah.
I got to say, I'm a little offended to be left out, seeing as, I'm the one on the field with those guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Doing the sideline.
In that cold.
Thank you.
In that rain.
Again, you can go to Facebook. You're right. Facebook, it's at Waco, the Facebook at Waco Football Chapter. Their website, wacofootballchapter.com, and they'll help you out if you're interested. He did $10 games. He just did it just for a friend, and look what he's doing now, officiating the SEC. Coming up next, Everson Walls, one of the great, when the ball was in the air, an undrafted free agent like Michael Downs was. The Cowboys and the Giants. He won a Super Bowl after leaving Dallas. He's next on SicEm365 Radio. Live crawfish is back. The 30-pound bags of live crawfish, as delicious as you can imagine, back at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. $3 a pound, 30-pound live crawfish bags are available. You order by Thursday at noon. You can pick up your customized order anytime on Friday afternoon until 6 p.m. And the drive-thru now open at Waco Custom Marketplace Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can still order what you want from their butcher shop, including beef and poultry, seafood, and also pork. And, of course, their bakery. You can order from their bakery. You can go online, WacoCustomMarketplace.com, or go by the drive-thru. Waco Custom Marketplace, live crawfish available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
12. What a good play by Everson Wall. He tipped the ball, caught it, came back out to the 40-yard line. Tackled by Dickerson. Walls had intercepted 9 this year, and he gets one here.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
I've been fortunate to cover the Cowboys ever since my first year, and it's been a long time. That means I'm old. 1981, and early on it was the Oilers, and then eventually the Cowboys. And remember when this young man, of course, started out with the Dallas Cowboys, an undrafted free agent, Michael Downs and company. Everson Walls, former Cowboys and New York Giant, also played with the Browns his last couple of years, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Everson, David Smoke, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke as well. How you been? How you been handling all this, I guess, whatever this is?
I need a haircut.
We all do. We all absolutely do that. Thank goodness we could start to have. I think I have one scheduled for Wednesday. Paul, you
know, I look. You know, mine is. I've had taller hair. You know, much more hair than this before, but it was never white. You know, and so it looks kind of. It looks really weird. Everybody that sees me, you know, from a distance and. Everybody sees me, family included, you know, my sisters and my sister-in-law, and man, they just can't stop laughing. I just look like, I think I look like, you remember the evil genius, Samuel Jackson, when he was with, you know, I think he was Glass or something.
Oh, yeah, Glass, yeah.
Yeah, I look like old Glass.
Everson, you were an All-American. You played at a school that had developed NFL talent for the longest of time. Why were you not drafted?
Well, at that time, you know, it was a bit of a misnomer in regards to what HBCU status was in regards to the NFL. After, like, Doug Williams left, you know, then, of course, the Walter Paytons and guys like that, they really, you know, scouts just didn't want to make that detour, you know. I mean, I could go to Mississippi State as a scout. I can go to Ole Miss. I could go to maybe Baton Rouge and go to LSU, but who wants to take that ride, you know, and stop off at Grambling? You know, they just really didn't think the talent was there and that it was all dried up. Even in spite of the fact that, you know, we had done very well. We lost against Boise State, Grambling did, AA championships at the time called 1AA. And I just don't know what they were looking at, but it wasn't us. I got to tell you, we were Black College national champions, and we went to the semis in 1AA, and no one from that squad got drafted. So you tell me.
Well, because people get caught up in the stopwatch, and they get caught up in, you know, you had the height, the 6'1" corner. I mean, you had the height, and you were a ball hawk. I just the Cowboys probably out of everybody in the history of the NFL with what Gil Brandt did and others was develop people who were overlooked at schools like what you mentioned, but even the Cornell Greens and others. Some of them were drafted, some of them were not. We've had Rayfield Wright on. He was drafted, I believe. But it's amazing. Was that just because they were ahead of their time?
Well, I think that they were basically being good businessmen when you look at it, because you had great talent there, but it really came cheap. When you think about it, my signing bonus was $1,500. Okay, so I think if you include the preseason, the regular season, and the championship, you're looking at $100 an interception. You know, when you go back to my signing bonus. So yeah, it was. I was a great bargain. The talent was there always, including my teammates. But for some reason, the Cowboys were able to see that, you know, we have a bargain in these athletes, especially from these small schools and HBCUs.
Well, Gil can probably tell us right now the practice tape he saw you on, where the postmark was in the mail, and you know, and that he was mad that he paid you $1,500 because he probby first offer was $850.
They probably told him to give me $2. He probably kept $550 for himself.
Oh God!
But really, even when you look at like I said, it's not just, you know, myself and just the HBCUs. Let's look at, you know, what was that? Just got the Hall of Fame. You know, Washington Baptist, Cliff Harris.
Yep.
That was another one, you know, came as a free agent. They just knew what the talent was, whether it was, like HBCU or just a small school in particular.
Everson, you were around some of the all-time greatest coaches in some capacity or another during your lifetime with Landry and Parcells and Belichick and Jimmy and Eddie Robinson, and the list goes on and on. Was there a common trait amongst all of those that they were all great, obviously, in their own ways, but there was a common trait that you maybe saw that led to all of them being as great as they were?
Yeah. They all. I get that question all the time, and as I talk about it, you talk about the things that they have in common, how they stick to their system, and they really don't like to deviate much at all from their system. That's what makes them good at what they do. Parcells, with the strong defense, the ball control offense. Tom Landry with just his intellect. Bill Belichick with his innovation. All of them stick to their creed, but it's just so funny. I think I may have been the exception for every one of those coaches, because Tom Landry just really hated my style of play. But because I got the interceptions, he just left me alone. And it just seemed to happen almost every team I went to. Even going back to Eddie Robinson, I don't think he knew how good I was going to be. I think he could see me developing. But as I got to my senior year and had a great year, I think he just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to leave that guy alone because whatever he's doing is working. But what they have in common is the fact that they were willing to, when the opportunity comes, as much as they are steadfast in their whole creed, the good coaches, the great coaches, they know when to let the reins loose.
We had Brooks Johnson on Friday, and I don't know if was he still there when you were still there when you were there.
Yeah, I was there with the California Quake.
He made a comment in the Super Bowl, the last time they won a Super Bowl under Landry, they beat Denver, and he made that catch, and Staubach hit him on a deep post, and he was coming back. A different play was called. He was supposed to run a route that kind of took him over to the flag, to the end zone flag. And Staubach told him to kind of do something different. He caught the touchdown, and he said Landry, as he was coming off the field, asked Johnson what route was he supposed to run. So that's kind of what you're talking about there. He was happy, but he was Landry.
Well, when you look at Tom Landry, of course, God, just very stubborn, just like all the greats, very stubborn in what he believed and what he wanted done. So stubborn, he had Craig and Roger alternating plays.
Yeah.
They're going to give in, but they just don't want to give in quickly. That's the stubbornness of the great ones. He could have easily started Roger Staubach that entire year, but he decided to just be stubborn about it. I'm going to give you what you want, but I'm just not going to give it to you when you want it. That's just the pride of all the great coaches. It happens all the time.
The Cowboys currently have a real problem creating turnovers, getting interceptions. It doesn't happen that often anymore. What was the key for you to get as many interceptions as you did? And why? What trait do you have that their defensive backs seem to lack recently?
Wow. That's a pretty good question. I would imagine, we talk about all the great coaches that I've had. I must admit my best coach was my dad. If my dad didn't show me how to truly catch the ball on the fly, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be talking to you right now because I made my living catching the ball, whether it was starting off as a wide receiver or what. But playing center field on my Little League baseball team. My dad was my baseball coach. He loved the whole Jackie Robinson thing, so I had to play baseball. I was the only black kid on the all-white team. So where they put all the black kids on the all-white team, right? Come on, y'all get. Give me a guess.
Wide receiver, running back, and defensive back?
No.
Baseball.
Baseball. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Center field?
Center field.
Everybody thinks the black kid's going to be Willie Mays, right? So they put me there, and I couldn't catch. I couldn't catch what the crap. I couldn't see the ball. And I told my dad, and he was a great athlete, went to Prairie View, and he just comes from a whole family and region, out there in East Texas. They're just like, they grow them like the pine trees that are out there. And he ended up just telling me one tip. He said, son, you're running flat-footed. I want you to run on your toes when that ball is in the air. He said, when you turn to look for the ball, run on your toes. And that's my pops. I listened to him. And guys, it was like a light bulb.
Mm.
It just went off. It just lit up, and the ball just stayed there for me. I was Willie Mays, you know. I turned into Willie Mays right there. That next day in practice, it worked for me. From then on, I wanted to be the wide receiver. I wanted to be the Drew Pearson. You know, I wanted to be those glamour guys. And eventually, you know, that whole ability to track the ball, I just turned it into what I turned it into.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because it's just you had that ability. It's just you had to, you know, just a little. That's what coaches are so amazing. You know, what they can
just like a tweak. Just need a tweak. You know what I mean? That's all.
Yeah, for a lot of those who are younger and they may not remember quite all of what you did, and you led the league in interceptions. I think you led the team 5 times. You led the league at least 3 times in interceptions, and maybe it was 5. For everyone to relate to what Everson Walls did, Paul, Ed Reed is the only one else that I think has led the NFL in interceptions 3 times.
He's pretty
in
good.
a career.
He's pretty good.
Both of us have done it. Both of us have done it 3 times.
In that, Everson, what would you say if you sat or stood in front of the people who vote for the Hall of Fame?
Wow, you know, until recently, I hadn't really. I've thought a lot about that. Let me be true. I had never thought about it until I had that experience to be up for the Hall of Fame. What was that? Excuse me, 2 or 3 years ago. And when that whole thing failed, and I saw who went in that year, you know, otherwise I'd never pay attention to the Hall of Fame. I just really never did. Then they teased me with it, and I get right there, and they put people in. You know, I love the guys that they put in. I told them everybody deserves to go in. But, you know, when they put in Brian Dawkins, I'm like, what? You know, it just kind of like, he, of course, but once again, we all deserve to be there, but why doesn't he have to wait his turn, I guess was what I thought.
Sure.
And so if I wanted to talk, you know, to any of the voters, I would just tell them to do their job, you know. I know what went on in that room that year. I know people that were in that room. I know some of the stupid questions that were asked from some reporters who should already know what's going on. If you're going to be that voter, do your job, do your freaking research.
Yep.
You know, don't look at this as some type of campaign like blue versus red. You know, I became aware of something that I really wanted to just close my eyes to this whole time. And now that I see how convoluted and chaotic the whole process is, it's nothing but a doggone campaign. It's not about, you tell me, is it about the, and I'm just rhetorical, of course, is it about the numbers or is it about the legacy or both? Is it about the winning? Is it about the ring? Is it about the longevity? Is it about the legacy that you left? What is it? Everybody, no one really knows what the freaking standard is. And until we realize that, a lot of people, like, you know, all the Cowboys that were pissed off at, the Gradishaws, the Roger Craig, were all going to be left out.
Everson, I always felt it's pretty simple to me. And of course, and I don't have a Hall of Fame vote in any Hall of Fame, but to me, it's just if you take someone from their era and you say, was this guy one of the best in his era at his, you know, top 5 or so in his era at his position, that's a Hall of Famer. And to me, I mean, that's a Venn diagram that you easily fall in.
Yeah, and let's face it also, guys, when you're talking about how can I put it, exposure, things of that nature, you have to have someone there for you. You have to have someone in your corner that's a voter. You have to have, they have some type of following, and you have it. But I always look at the Dallas Cowboys. It's special. In the 80s, we had a management that really wasn't, it was always us versus them, right? You know, union stuff was just chaotic. It was crazy. We didn't like each other. Now you've got the owners that they love their players. They look at them, you know, as family. It really wasn't like that back then. And so the Cowboys have always had this issue of, you know, people holding grudges and Cowboys not being touted by our own Hall of Fame voters, our own local Hall of Fame voters. And so once the 80s, once the old regime let us go, the new regime comes along. They're not our advocates. I mean, Jerry Jones, I mean, God bless him, he's not against the old school Cowboys, but he's so pro his boys, the new regime. So you can say what you want. Guys like Tutal Jones, Harvey Martin, myself, Drew Pearson, we're the lost boys. We really are. We have no advocates. You know, we have none. Cornell Green. We have no advocates for Hall of Fame because, you know, Jerry's got his thing going on. He got great players that have already played for him that he's trying to tout. And when it comes to us, I'm sure once we make it to a certain level, Jerry would say, hey, man, this is one of my guys. But at this point, there's no campaign for the lost boys of the 70s and 80s.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And the names you mentioned as well. And, of course, we saw the gut-wrenching what Drew Pearson went through.
Of course.
That was just awful. You have been a part of a couple of stories that have been amazing. It says a lot about who Everson Walls, the man, is. Ron Springs and your donation, and obviously when Dwight Clark passed away almost 2 years ago, and how you and Dwight Clark had been tied together for years, and what you guys had with each other. Football's one thing, right? I mean, golly, it's great. You have 50-something interceptions, and you could be a Hall of Famer, and you should be, and all that. But isn't that really what living life is about, is being a part of some of these stories?
Oh, man, there's no doubt about it. Just the fun I've had with Ron. And first of all, I was a fan when I was playing with these guys. I remember going into Tony Dorsett's room in training camp my rookie year, and I was like, man, I'm in Tony Dorsett's room. Just little things like that I remember. And, of course, me and Springs having such a good time and having such a good legacy that we left. The places I've gone, the experiences I've had, and let me say, we all live on our name. Ron used to say, and my dad was the same thing, reputation's all you got. And I'm just glad that I could further spread my last name, and get it out there with good reputation. And, for my dad and my mom to know that what I did wasn't always perfect, of course, but, to have a good reputation in our name, to me, I think that's what it's all about. It's about the legacy. It's about the family, about how proud my kids are of me. Your uncles, your friends, my pastors, my deacons, the whole community. It's all about that. And that's why I'll continue to try and, get involved with young kids and the community so that they can have people that they can make proud as well.
You left the Cowboys, and I know you got to go. You left the Cowboys and immediately won a world championship with the Giants, Parcells. What was that like?
Oh, that was the best. That was so much fun. Having Steve Yaffe up there with me, guys like Pepper Johnson and Carl Banks really took me in quickly. I mean, they were proud for me to play with them, and considering how it had been, it was a welcome change. The entire atmosphere was amazing. That you could tell. Like, I could imagine what the Cowboy locker room was like in the 90s and the 70s because I was a part of that whole thing in the 90s with the Giants, because it's just a different feeling. It's one of inclusion as opposed to blame, so to speak. Everything was just so, everybody's pointing fingers at each other and pointing the blame to go from a 1 in 15 to that environment. It was like an exhale. You understand?
Yep.
I was just able to and be who I was, go back to who I was. It was just like my rookie year. Great defense, leading the team in interceptions, but we just made it that last step that we needed to make it to go all the way. So something I really wish I could have experienced as a Cowboy, no doubt. But playing for the New York Giants, the biggest city in the world, and getting that national championship, that's a real close second, guys. It's a real close second.
I was asked by a listener that I needed to ask you about Richardson Berkner High School. He was a Berkner grad. I have 2 cousins, 4, 5, 6 cousins that are Berkner grads. So he wanted to make sure I got a Berkner question in about how much that place meant to you.
The Rams, right?
Go Rams,
yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Go feed Berkner Rams. That's right.
Thank you a lot, Everson. We appreciate it. Thanks so much. Good luck and
All right,
stay
guys.
safe.
Good talking to you guys.
You
Y'all
too.
Stay safe, please.
Everson Walls. Bo, that's a lot of truth serum right there.
Mhm.
What a bunch of insight from his Pro Football Hall of Fame, at least nomination, to what the Cowboys were like maybe in the 80s, to what it was like to go to the Giants that year. He was there for, I think, a couple of years, won a Super Bowl as soon as he left. He and Jimmy did not get along at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, Craig asked the great. I mean, like, you look at the coaches that he played for.
Oh,
I didn't even include Saban on that.
Yeah, so like he's got Saban was the defensive coordinator for Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got what are those coaches that if you had the opportunity to play for, you would say no?
Oh, it's incredible, man. I mean Eddie Robinson, from Eddie Robinson to Belichick. That's and then in between is Saban and Jimmy and all
And
these
Landry,
and Landry and all these countless Parcells. I mean, golly,
Good Lord.
it's like every buddy you'd ever want to play for, basically, other than Lombardi, almost. I mean, it's an incredible list that he was a part of. And one thing that I liked towards the end that he was talking about there is, I don't know where this quote originated. It's something that always kind of rings in my head, but he was talking a lot about his last name. And the quote I always refer to is just, don't let your first name affect your last name. And that's something that Everson obviously kept in mind, and he did not affect the Walls name in any other way but positively. So, I definitely believe in not letting your first name affect your last name. And, man, what a great guy. And he was a great player in his day as well. I did not get to see as much as y'all did, but I've definitely seen the NFL films and documentaries and things of that nature. And what a pleasure to have him on this afternoon. Good stuff.
They had Downs, Walls, Thurman's Thieves. They had Dennis Thurman.
Yeah, here's what I do remember when Everson Walls was playing in that Super Bowl, which was in Tampa, was when I found out when I was moving to Florida. Like, we were living in Bossier City, and my dad came in, and he said that they announced Everson Walls playing for the Giants, and his mood changed. Like, he was just so bummed about it.
It's a good little Giants roster. I mean, not you think about the coaches he played under, whether they were head coaches or defensive coordinators or what have you, but we ran down that list: Saban, Parcells, Belichick, Landry, etc. But, I mean, think about all the great players he also played with, from his time with the Cowboys to then that Giants team had its fair share of great players as well.
The three best linebackers ever at the same time probably were Pepper Johnson, Carl Banks, and the greatest linebacker to ever live, Lawrence Taylor.
Yep. And he was calling defensive plays, I believe, when he was playing with the Giants. And then, with the Browns, not as much talent then, but no, what a tremendous career with so many incredible stories.
Coming up next, there would probably be no reason we would want John Jansen otherwise on the show. Well, there is a reason. He played in the NFL for 10 years. He's an All-American at Michigan. He actually sat, I think, had a podcast with Jim Harbaugh. Remember that open letter to college football from Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, of Michigan? John Jansen spoke with him Friday. He's next on SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI. Man, I tell you what, sometimes it just depends on who you are. An experience of getting an MRI can be a little bit, it's not traumatic, but it can be a little bit something that's different. I've had a couple where I just got spooked because it's something where you can have a little claustrophobia. I don't know if I have that, but I have a couple of times gone into an MRI and had to say, hey, hold on. Push the button, squeeze that, whatever that is, and come back out. And through. From Al, Teresa, and Cheryl at Ideal MRI in the Central Texas Marketplace, from Dr. Rob Maxey, one of the partners, who called me and said, hey, we want you to experience what we do. It is a big boy machine now. They had to take a wall out to put this machine inside the building where they are. And what they're doing right now is helping you when you need an MRI. Torn rotator cuff, maybe something else that's broken or whatever. They are lowering the cost of health insurance. That's Ideal MRI, helping you not only with your MRIs, but also with sometimes MRIs that could be under $500. Specialists in technology, state-of-the-art, everything. Doctors from hospitals rely on Ideal MRI. They have great relationships with all of them. And so go if you need to get an MRI, or ask your doctor about Ideal MRI and lower the cost of what you're paying. Insurance, of course. They have insurance. They'll help save you sometimes thousands of dollars. From Rob to Al to Teresa and Cheryl and the great staff at Ideal MRI in the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco and idealmri.com.
Ready to get outside? Go where you want to go in a new Jeep from Allen Samuels. Get employee pricing plus for all on new 2020 Gladiators and Wranglers. Put yourself in a new 2020 Grand Cherokee, Compass, Cherokee, or Renegade with 0% for 72 and no payments for up to 120 days. Let's go. Allen Samuels is ready to do business in person or online. Drive forward in a Jeep from Allen Samuels.
Ask for details. All offers with approved credit.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help you and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Mart High School football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
John Jansen does post-game shows for the Detroit Lions. Also is a part of Inside Michigan Football, the TV show, host of Playbook on ESPNU, and In the Trenches podcast. Played in the for I believe it's 10 years, 9 with the Redskins, also an All-American, and had a school record 50 straight starts in the offensive line. And John Jansen joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Hey, John, thank you so much for being here. One, I know we want to get into Jim Harbaugh, but 50 consecutive starts playing in the offensive line, that's kind of rare.
It was and was a record for quite some time. And obviously, it's whenever you get a chance to play major college football, every opportunity you get is a blessing. And I was fortunate enough to step in, unfortunate due to injury, but fortunate for me that I was able to get in there and get my feet wet, hold on to a spot for a few years, and had a lot of fun doing it.
I contacted you Friday night, somewhat late Friday night. You had a chance to visit with, I guess, Coach Harbaugh. Is that correct about his open letter to college football? What did he say?
Well, yeah, he came out with the letter on Thursday, and it's something I've been talking to him about for the week. And we had our athletic director, Ward Manuel, on the podcast on Thursday. He gave a few comments in support of Jim, and it's been something they've been talking about for a while. And then when I got a chance to sit down, actually it was with Jim and his dad, Jack Harbaugh, a longtime coach as well, starting off at Bowling Green and on Bo's staff. And this was for him a letter that he's been thinking about for over a year, putting it together, rewriting it, doing a bunch of stuff. And on his mind was the fact that he is advocating for more rights of student athletes. He's advocating for the ability for the student athlete and his family to be able to make a decision whenever they want to. So it basically boils down to a few parts. One, that the student athlete would be able to decide when they wanted to go pro. And that could be after his freshman year, could be after his sophomore year, which is currently not legal. And that's an NFL and NFLPA rule. That's not something that he has a hand in or the NCAA. But what he is advocating for as well is right now when a junior or a redshirt sophomore declares for the NFL draft, if they go undrafted, and there are so many players that are entering the draft as underclassmen and then end up going undrafted, that his proposal, one of the elements of it was that they would be able to come back and finish their time at the university, enter the draft again the next year, possibly, or at the very least, have that opportunity to come back, be a part of a team, but finish their degree. So there's a lot of intricacies to what he proposed. I think it's good. I think there's a lot of discussion that will generate from this letter. And I think it's all good for the student athlete.
Would there be any negatives to the coaching side of it, having to wait kids out in the NFL draft at all?
Well, yeah, what he's advocating for is obviously it's a huge benefit to the student athlete and their families, but it is it's a hardship. And we've heard over the course of the last, year or two, you can go all the way from Nick Saban to a lot of different college football coaches who have said roster management, and that's become a hot button word, is roster management, that it's hard to do with the ability of these kids to transfer. If we allow the one-time transfer where you can transfer and not have to sit out, even if you're not a grad, which is 25 that you can sign on a yearly basis. There's been a few different commissioners. I think Bob Bowlesby out of the Big 12 was one of them. And John Steinbrecher out of the MAC was another one who said, instead of just getting rid of the hard cap rule, why don't we go to, instead of 25 maxed out every single year, why don't we go to, the possibility of signing 50 in 2 years? And maybe there's a cap of 30 in any one given season. So it gives some flexibility to the coaches. But yeah, it would be challenging to accept those players back onto the roster after, the draft is in late April. So if you don't get those players back until, the end of April or even the beginning of May, now all of a sudden, how do you offer, incoming high school seniors in December and then in the first, Wednesday of February? It becomes a big time challenge. So this is something that is obviously good for the student athlete and gives them choices, gives them options, gives them an out to be able to come back. But it makes it really hard on college football coaches. That's why I think it was a big deal that somebody from a Power 5 school and somebody from a blue blood program would actually say this.
One of the things that I think raised a lot of people's eyebrows was the idea of a player being able to leave after their freshman year or any year, for that matter, as you pointed out, and from Harbaugh's ideas, they could leave at any point after a season. But how many guys do you think we're really even talking about? Because, everybody's going to go, oh, my gosh, they're going to be leaving left and right. But how many guys, you played a long time, do you think we're even really talking about would be able to take advantage of leaving after just 1 year of college football?
I think you're looking at, in most years, 0. In some years, 1, 2, but I can't see any more than you could count on one hand. Now, it doesn't mean that, as you and I and everybody in college football is that players are coming into college football ready to play. They're coming in more mature physically, but I think the bigger question is not necessarily will they be physically ready to play, because you can have there's an exception to every rule. You can have some guys that would be physically ready to play. It's the mental and emotional side. Are they ready to make that leap? And, that's a question we ask about basketball players when they do the one and done. It's a question we could have about football players. And I don't know that there's an answer to will they be, mentally, physically, emotionally ready for that. That's for them to decide. But I think in terms of skill level and physical preparedness, you're really limiting how many guys that would legitimately be able to make that choice.
Let me, John, you played when basically none of these things were at your fingertips, were they? Nothing.
No.
There was no cost of living. There was nothing. Of everything you now see student athletes get, which would be the one you would have wanted the most?
Oh, boy. That's a great question. I think probably the cost of living, or, I'd say cost of living, because that goes for, all the scholarship athletes. When you start thinking about name, image, and likeness, again, I think that just like those that could declare for the draft after their freshman year, you're looking at I think everybody believes there's going to be a mass of individuals that are making huge money at the college football level. I would disagree with that. I again think, okay, and let's take, for example, last year. I think nationally you could have had, obviously, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, and maybe Jalen Hurts. Justin Fields by the end of the year, and maybe one or two other guys would have a national appeal. And that's after all of the NFL guys, basketball, baseball, all of these other individuals that are in that market, you would have a very slim number of players that would benefit. Locally, you could probably up that ante to maybe 10, 11, 12 guys on a team. And for offensive linemen like me, I think it would be awesome to be able to have a sandwich named after you so that you could go and eat lunch every day. That's where I think it would benefit offensive and defensive linemen in deals like that. So if I'm going to pick one, it's the cost of living. Give me some of that extra money up front so that I can actually, maybe live in a nicer place, or heck, I probably wouldn't live in a nicer place. I'd just pocket the money and look to be able to go out on Friday or Saturday night and maybe could have put a couple more pops in the cooler.
With the names, image, and likeness going up, you mentioned.
Wait a minute, where were pops? I gotta know what pops are.
Well, I mean, it's from Michigan, so it could mean two things.
Yeah.
Well, so under the age of 21, it'd be a Coca-Cola.
Exactly.
Over the age of 21, you decide.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So you mentioned, getting a sandwich named after you there at the, whatever place. Name, image, and likeness is a big thing, and I know that this is something coaches will have to wrestle with. And for most players, I mean, you played with Tom Brady. He would have had it, he and Brian Griese were the quarterbacks when you were there. They would have had whatever they wanted, essentially, name, image, and likeness. But for other players, like an offensive lineman, even one that was going to the NFL, how much of that would have helped if you could have just done hey, come eat at so-and-so's chicken wing house and you make a little money on the side there?
Well, it'd been awesome. And again, I would have taken trade instead of money, just to be able to know that I had a hot meal, some wings, and again, a few pops lined up, ready to go.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about Jim Harbaugh? I mean, obviously a big personality. We've all gotten to see him over the years on the sidelines and as a player as well. But one of the I guess, more unique characters in the college football coaching ranks, but where do you think people maybe get it wrong with him?
I think they get wrong that he wants to leave, that he's going to jump to the NFL. He loves being in Ann Arbor, and he loves coaching where Bo coached. He loves having that offense. That's a big deal to Jim Harbaugh. It would be for anybody, but I think especially for Jim, since he played for Bo, he was a mentor, talks about Bo all the time. I think that's a big deal. But it's also the fact that his family is very comfortable in Ann Arbor. They live right next to Jack and Jackie, his mom and dad. So they've got a great setup. Sarah, his wife, loves Ann Arbor. His kids go to the school that he went to. They go to the same church that he went to as a kid. There is a lot that he loves about being in Ann Arbor in and of itself. And I think everybody just assumes that he is going to, at some point, take a big payday and jump to the NFL. And he may coach in the NFL again, but there's still so much that he wants to do at Michigan. And, all of us alumni and all of us that played there, all of us that would love to have his job knows there's one thing that he wants to do, he needs to do, and he's going to do eventually, and that's beat Ohio State.
How close are they to taking that next step?
2015 was it 2015? I think they were really close. We took a couple of steps back, obviously over the last couple of years, but it's a matter of execution. They have the talent, they have the ability, but you can't go out there and give up pressures. You can't go out there, and this is kind of how I've always said it. When I was playing there, we had won a lot of Big Ten championships. We had beaten Ohio State on a regular basis. So when those underclassmen come in, they get taught by the juniors and seniors, by the upperclassmen. This is how we prepare for Ohio State. This is what we do. Along the way, we've lost that. Now these kids are trying to get over that hump, and the difference or the gap isn't, in talent. It's not on the field. There's no questioning that Ohio State, I think, has more talent. They've got more talent than 97% of the rest of the country. But the gap is right now between the ears. And when something goes wrong, it's hard. We've all been in that situation where, something keeps happening over and over again. And then all of a sudden, something in the game, things could be going well. And then something happens. You get behind. Somebody on the other side makes a play. And it becomes a huge mental hurdle to get over. These players have to reinvent the wheel. They've got to find a way to get over that mental hurdle. And then I think in the years after that, then when it becomes interesting.
Guys, anything else? Hey, John, so much good stuff. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate you jumping on with us about the Harbaugh letter, about college football, about whatever student athletes get or what they have. My last thing is that doesn't there need to be some sort of consequences to decisions that are made, whether they want to come out or not, or commitments or signings? I know there's a lot of let people do what they want to do. But is that something that you still want to make sure that there are some consequences when young people are not make decisions?
Well, here's I think one of the caveats that we didn't address, or Jim didn't address in the letter, is what happens when a kid sits out a bowl game preparing for the NFL draft as an underclassman, goes undrafted, and then comes back. There are some team dynamics that will take a hit, and that's a question I have. I haven't heard him talk about that yet. Next time, in about a month, I'll have him back on the podcast, and I will ask him that question because I know he's been a huge proponent of trying to get his guys to finish out a season playing bowl games. One question and one caveat that if you're not going to play in the bowl game, I think it's very hard to come back into the team dynamics and say, you know what, hey, I want to fight for you guys again, because all of a sudden now you've got 84 other scholarship guys looking at you going, you know what, we're going to fight for 12 games and you're just going to sit out again.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point.
And I think that's a major issue. So, but again, this letter was written and thrown out there to create a discussion. We're talking about it in Waco, Texas. We're going to be talking about it around the country for some time. And all of those things, Jim's open for ideas. If somebody has an idea, he would love to hear about it, whether it's coaches, athletic directors, former athletes, current student athletes. Everybody needs to have a voice in this.
And I'll make mention that actually while we were talking here, I just did some Google searches just looking around, and I've seen where Mac Brown, who we had on the show last week, has actually come out, North Carolina's head coach, and said that he's in favor of what Harbaugh is proposing, that he's saying, it's not going to be like every year there's 10 guys, he said, but if there's a Ricky Williams or a Cedric Benson or someone like that feels like they can go and make money right away, then he's all for it. So Mac Brown is in Camp Harbaugh as far as this goes.
And I know you guys probably got to get to a break, so I'll try and keep this brief. It's going to take a very unique individual to test that rule because it's an NFL and NFLPA rule. That's not an NCAA rule.
Right.
It's going to take a very unique person. We already saw Maurice Claret challenge that. The NFL was able to beat it down and went to the Supreme Court. It's going to take a generational type talent. And I don't even know if Trevor Lawrence would have been that player that could have broken through that rule. It's like I said, it's going to take a very special talent, one that a team is willing to go to bat for, and basically, hey, say to the NFL, I don't care what the rule is, we want this player because he's going to help us make money. He's going to help us win games for the next decade, maybe 2 decades.
It's a Michigan man and John Jansen. Thank you, John. Appreciate your time very much.
Thanks a lot.
John Jansen, again, an All-American, 2-time All-American at Michigan, played in the NFL, host of Playbook on ESPNU, In the Trench podcast as well. And he joined us on the Jim Harbaugh open letter to college football. When we come back, there's a couple of notes with Oklahoma's quarterback competition and Tanner Mordecai and Spencer Rattler, a couple other notes as well. And poor Trevor Bauer. Where is he now, Paul? Cleveland Indians pitcher Trevor Bauer, who yesterday or over the weekend was on ESPN for the entire world to see his cell phone number. And they didn't notice it, but everyone else did. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr Motors. For as long as I've been doing live reads for Richard Carr Motors, which has been, probably 6 to 7 years by this point, one thing is always a part of their message, and that is how much they enjoy being the people you can count on locally. A local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni. They want the chance to earn your business. And right now it's obviously some weird times. People aren't as ready to go to a showroom or maybe aren't as sure about buying a car, but Richard Carr Motors is there for you. Great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. And right now they're overloaded with used cars and trucks, over 120 now in stock, and they need to move some of these vehicles right now. Richard Carr has over 30 used trucks in stock, all at low inventory overload prices. And just taking a look a little bit at their lineups, you've got the Buick Encores, the perfect crossover SUV with quiet ride, roomy interior, and they're packed with safety features and the latest technology. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores in stock are 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus $1,250 in savings, or you can save $6,000 and drive off in a Buick Encore for only $19,900. That's only one of their offers. They've got many more. Stop by today and go see for yourself. Again, the people you can count on, local and run by Baylor Bear alumni. They just want to earn your business. Stop by the disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, and they can also provide you the option of bringing the test drive to your home. Find them at richardcarr.com or Highway 60 Imperial Exit.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Live crawfish is back. The 30-pound bags of live crawfish, as delicious as you can imagine, back at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. $3 a pound, 30-pound live crawfish bags are available. You order by Thursday at noon. You can pick up your customized order anytime on Friday afternoon until 6 p.m. And the drive-thru now open at Waco Custom Marketplace Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can still order what you want from their butcher shop, including beef and poultry, seafood, and also pork. And, of course, their bakery. You can order from their bakery. You can go online, WacoCustomMarketplace.com, or go by the drive-thru. Waco Custom Marketplace, live crawfish available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6.
This is SicEm365
Yes,
Radio. The SicEm365 Radio call-in line segment is sponsored by Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, where curbside pickup and drive-thru are now available. Next in line.
All right, here we go to wrap it up today. Deontay he was so entrenched in trying to listen back to an interview we were doing or a segment we were doing, he didn't get to hear Trevino. Is that right?
He's going through some Steve Rodriguez, I believe.
That's right, the Steve Rodriguez. Anything there that was had a Zoom meeting today about the draft, the Major League Baseball amateur draft. Anything that you heard him say, Deontay, that was of interest to you?
Kind of like he was talking about how all the coaches talk together, and they've been talking about how to deal with the draft, and now it's down to 5 rounds. So players deciding whether or not they want to come out, and due to it's getting dragged along, or it's not as long as it used to be. So a lot of players
40 rounds, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah,
Some crazy number.
40.
Yeah.
So a lot of players now are trying to make a decision whether or not they want to declare, because it's going to affect whether they get drafted or not. Because
I would think it just made college baseball better for the next year.
Oh, I think it.
How could it not? Right?
I think especially if you're a JUCO coach, where you can leave after every year. So.
Plus, you get the influx of high school players. Even if there's 5 rounds and a lot of them are high school players, there's hundreds and hundreds that won't be going.
That kid that was going to get drafted in the 6th round, that was just going to wait for whatever that check is. Well, now he's got to go. So, all right, I'll tell you, and those kids, especially that thought 3 months ago, who weren't really making plans, that they knew that they were going to get drafted in the first 10 rounds, going to get some solid money. That's going to affect the JUCOs a lot too, because a lot of them maybe wouldn't be in that recruiting cycle, so they jump into a JUCO. JUCO baseball this year might be lit.
Well, Mitch Thompson likes that, right?
Yeah.
Well,
so
I had an article that I printed out for you. I don't think you've read it, but it gets into some of the problematic things that may be coming along with having a shorter draft. For example, you might have more guys that are willing because there's at least some guaranteed money, even if it's not the type of money they were thinking of, but might be more willing to leave college earlier to go play in some type of a minor league just to have that guarantee of some money. But, yeah, the one thing that I took away from Steve Rodriguez, and I didn't get a chance to listen to the entire thing, but one thing that I did see or heard him say was that Nick Lofton's really the only one we're talking about, I think, when discussing the MLB draft. And Deontay could back me up on that, but that was the one player that he seemed to think, there's a pretty good chance we could probably lose him, even with just the 5 rounds. But outside of that, I think they'll be pretty salty and pretty much in full power when they return, hopefully, next season.
We don't have time to get into the last dance, but that's okay, because tomorrow at 4 o'clock, former Bulls and Jordan teammate Will Perdue will join us. I thought 7 and 8 were really good. It's unbelievable that it's going to end this weekend. There was a time when Jordan said break.
If there was
that was the end.
Yeah. If there was a season 2 of The Last Dance, I would look forward to that like I used to look forward to Game of Thrones.
Oklahoma, I agree. Oklahoma quarterback competition. They're in Spencer Rattler. is in Phoenix. Tanner Mordecai's working out with Kevin Murray, among others. It's a nice story from Jason Kersey, by the way. Mordecai, former Midway star at Oklahoma, on theathletic.com. If you don't get that, or if you do get it, that's a quarterback competition, just kind of discussing. And then again, most of them think that Spencer Rattler's the guy, but
it's not even. It's probably 99.999% of people think that Spencer Rattler's already the starting quarterback for Oklahoma. I've seen nary a person give even the slightest chance to Tanner Mordecai.
And you wonder what that would do with Tanner, because he's just a sophomore in eligibility.
Yeah.
What it might do, but he's a good young man, and good luck to him.
I'm sure he has a ton to say about it.
Trevor Bauer.
That'll be a great SicEm365 radio interview one day.
I hope so. Trevor Bauer was on ESPN, and it says on the top of it's got a ceiling fan or whatever, FaceTime with his number is up on the screen, and they didn't blur it out, or they didn't black it out. And just crazy. And so he did a promotion because everyone has his number. Just leaked my number truly to the entire world. Laugh out loud. I'm doing a giveaway. I'll be giving away a pair of signed cleats, autographed baseball for the next 48 hours. Rules are in my voicemail. Well, that filled up quickly. So then eventually I think they had to, I don't know how they did that. I guess they could just text him or whatever. But he was giving away. He took that, he's been outspoken. I thought he took that like a charm. I really did. Thought it was great.
Well, he and Garrett Cole were teammates at UCLA, and usually that bond runs deep. They're the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, they are. I saw this from Jason, Midway Jason. Oh, we got to go.
Yeah.
Today on this date, 1953, that deadly tornado that ripped right through Waco. So the memories of that from 1953. Tomorrow, Santana Dotson, Will Purdue, Mac Rhodes, David Hellman, John McClain, and more. This is SicEm365 Radio.